Alrighty, good morning. And for anybody who's wondering why we're doing this show on virtual platforms rather than recording in the studio, it's because we are busy recording a whole bunch of cool shit in the studio. So I'm afraid if you were expecting us to be in there this morning, as I was yesterday, got a call from James and Marvin, the crew, yesterday, and they said, "Well, can we move your show?" So I said, "To what? To when?" And I'd forgotten how to do this. Hey, ass, how are you this morning?
Hi. Yes, also news to me, and
Yeah.
thought, well, we've done this before, so I know what to do, but
It's
didn't
so
know what to click this morning. I was like,
I
how do
know
we join?
it's so weird. Like last night before I went to bed, I was like, "Oh shit, I have to get this thing set up." And you remember we did this for like solidly 2 years or so when,
Yeah.
like 5 years ago with COVID and everything, which I don't even like talking about that time because it just feels to me
Oh,
like we were the
yeah.
stupidest creatures on earth. But this idea of doing the show like this, it feels so weird now all of a sudden. And we
That's
haven't
good
done
because
it is good,
it
right? Because then
means,
you've been going back to
yeah, it
being
means
human.
we've assimilated. Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel odd doing this. I mean, it's probably it's more than a year since we did the show like this last. And usually it's like an emergency situation where you have to it's like, I had a meeting yesterday at 9 o'clock, a virtual meeting, and the day before I had one at 9 o'clock in person. Now, I know the 9 o'clock one in person was a real pain in the ass because traffic was a disaster. Had to wake up way earlier than normal just so that I'd make it there on time for a 9 o'clock meeting in Santon. Uh, and and I know that doing the 9 o'clock virtual meeting yesterday was easier from a logistical point of view, but there's just no difference. I mean, there is a difference. There's a huge difference, right? Um, the in-person stuff just feels like more important. It feels like people are concentrating. It feels like stuff is happening. It's right. And it drives me a little bit crazy when you're sitting in a virtual meeting with people and you know for a fact they're not concentrating. They're catching up on email. And I've just, if you give me the choice, even if it means traffic, being late for things occasionally because you've got unforeseen circumstances that make it difficult for you to be there in person. I still prefer it, and given the choice, I'll always take an in-person meeting, especially if it's an important thing. If it's something dumb like a couple of easy decisions need making, then sure,
Mm.
it's weird. How
Yeah,
was your week?
100%. Oh, it's been good. I'm trying.
Yeah,
When was Monday again?
yeah. Oh shit! I must tell you about
Yeah.
what I did last Friday, but first, tell me about your week. Just remind me.
No, I was just gonna say there was one night this week, I think it was Tuesday night, when
Mhm.
you battle to fall asleep and you eventually fall asleep at about what time usually, do you think?
Wow. Um, I was up the other night. I couldn't sleep. It was last week though. I was up until like 3 a.m., which is just
It's
disgusting.
usually
Because
it's usually the 3 AM thing, right? Where you
know,
and 3 AM came and went, and 4 and
oh,
5 and 6:30, I eventually fell asleep and
oh
slept for an
god,
hour and then went to work.
oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, it's weird. I was watching Monster, though, before I went to tried to go to sleep. And
What,
you've
the
heard of
Charlize
Monster.
Theron movie?
No, this is a new series on Netflix, and it's all the
Is it?
rage.
Yeah.
It's, did you ever watch Sons of Anarchy with the guys in the motorbikes? I
Mm,
didn't, but apparently everyone knows who this actor is from there.
yeah.
Is it Charlie Hunnam? Anyway,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
he's
Right.
this is
I know who he
about,
is.
Ed Geiger, the,
Yeah.
serial killer, right? Well, not
Right.
only did he kill people, but he also like, more than 100 people he pulled out of graves. Um, he did all sorts of things. So he's the guy that Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho was based on,
Mhm.
and he's also the guy that, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was based on. So this is the
Oh,
new.
the, he's like the original serial killer.
Yes. So this
I
is
heard.
new, and it's about him, and it's
Mhm.
absolutely it's pretty shocking. Yeah, if you've never seen necrophilia, for instance,
Oh
you're
my god.
gonna watch it. Yeah, if you it's really, really intense. And Charlie Hunnam in this is just absolutely amazing. He's gonna win awards for this. But, he's also the guy who killed his mom and then, like, preserved her body and kept it in his house for many years and
Oh,
spoke to her as if
wow.
she was alive. He would
Jesus.
he would skin people and wear their body parts over his face, and body.
Oof.
Um, and through all of this, he had a girlfriend as well. And,
Wow.
yeah, he just started taking bodies from graves and doing what he needed to do with them. He made furniture items out of people's skin. So
Mm.
he had chairs that were made out of he had a chair that was made out of his mother's skin. You could even see,
Oh
like,
my
a nipple
god.
on there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's pretty intense. Lampshades, and
Oh.
does this for many, many years in a small town. And because he's this kind of sweet guy, he got brought up with it by his mother, and he lived with her. I think he was in his 40s when she died.
Mhm.
Um, and he's like the sweet guy in town who everybody knows, "Oh, shame, he's different." His mother instilled in him that he wasn't allowed to be with women. She called them Jezebels,
Jeez.
and believed that they were impure. So, and then just, yeah, all the behind the scenes and the interviews with Charlie Hunnam on, why he chose a certain voice to use. Apparently, he spent quite a few hours at Ed Geiger's grave, um,
Mm.
and just really, got into the whole thing. So yeah, it's actually unbelievable, and it touches on Psycho and Alfred Hitchcock, and it touches on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I can't remember who directed that, but they bring them in as characters as well. So it's got like some accurate historical stuff in it too, which is good.
Good
So yeah, I'm halfway
heavens.
through that, and that's probably why I couldn't sleep. You don't get scared. It's not like a scary thing. It's just one of those things that you can't stop looking at, watching, and you're thinking, "What am I watching?"
I think
Yeah.
you're more into that stuff than I am. I
Yeah,
I don't like the crime stuff. In fact, my sister was telling me about the same show that you're telling me about now last week, and I totally forgot because I said, "There's no way I'm gonna watch this. It's not my kind of thing." Um, it first of all, we've got enough weirdos and freaks in the world without me having to go and watch a whole show about one. And then
mm,
I know it's gonna bother me. I mean, I'm not some kind of pussy. I can sit through a horror movie, but I don't wanna see, true crime. It always bugs me that, don't you have enough craziness going on around you that to watch these things I don't get it. I mean, I understand these are hugely popular shows. In fact, I think true crime is it's even I think it's the biggest category in podcasting still. And the weird thing is it's so popular among female audiences. Like women love true crime stuff way more than men.
yeah, yeah.
I don't
I mean,
understand it.
I derive great pleasure from watching these things, and it's about analyzing the mind, and
Mm,
it's about the psychology for me. And I did see at one point there was a psychiatrist who had a view on why women like true crime, and his view was that we're learning everything and about the wild that we live in.
mm,
We're learning about the challenges, and we're teaching ourselves about what to expect in any scenario, how to avoid future harm, and it's about protecting yourself. So I don't know if it's that, but for me, it's just
maybe.
pure fascination.
Well, Chris Smith says true crime is just like South African politics, so maybe they're the same thing. Um, these are weird edge cases, though. I mean, you're not going to learn from about this Ed Geiger dude because he's a one of a kind, right? He's the they're not they're not that many people disturbed at that level running around. So it's not as if you're going to pick up patterns in him that you're going to suddenly see in your ex-boyfriend or whatever it might be. Um, he's a pretty rare exception to the standard, and I think a lot of it is just to do with people like this idea of creating the worst possible outcome in their heads so that anything else, it's almost like a survival technique, so that anything else looks good by comparison. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
I see a question here from somebody in the comments. They said, "Have you started with the Ozempic yet?" Um,
Oh, yes.
because you remember you told us about it the other day. Have you?
Yes. So I've had 3, you have 1 shot a week,
Mm,
and I've had 3. So I've been on it for 2 weeks.
okay.
Tomorrow will be 3 weeks. So, yeah, very
Noticed
starting off.
noticed any changes?
Yeah, I've been battling a lot with side effects. Um, so remember that I'm going a little bit faster on the dosage than what people usually use to lose weight,
Mm,
because I'm actually diabetic. So my doctor is trying to sort out that issue first. I think insulin level wise, I had about 7 times the amount of insulin in my body
mhm.
before we started the Ozempic. So it was actually at like dangerous levels. But yeah, the key is that you've got to go in really slowly with small doses. But I must tell you the funny story. So the first time I used it, I phoned a friend of mine who's been on Ozempic now for, I don't know, 6 months or so.
Mhm.
And I said, "Okay, I'm about to take my first dose." They said, "Yes. Are you all set?" I said, "Yes." You've got to do all these like little click things at the bottom of the pen, get the dosage right, count the clicks. It fills into the
Mhm.
barrel. You've got to take off the lid and then inject it, right? So
Yeah.
I do this and I inject it, and I thought, well, gee, that wasn't painful at all, which was great because I was a little bit worried about that. I then
Mhm.
got into the shower, and in the shower, literally 5 minutes in, I started feeling horribly nauseous.
Oh,
Got out the shower and was actually physically ill. So
shit.
I messaged my friend and I said, "I've just vomited." They said, "Leanne, that is impossible. It's not from the Ozempic. I mean, it's 5 minutes. That thing's
Yeah?
gotta get into your system. It's gotta be psychosomatic." Anyway, so I said to them later, I don't know if I held the pen in long enough. She said to me, "Just come to my house, bring the pen. You've probably fucked it up entirely, the whole thing." So that afternoon, I take the pen to the house, and as they were fiddling with it, I said to them, "Hang on, what did you just take off there? Because you take off the lid, and then there's another little cap."
Oh,
I
for
hadn't
fuck's
taken
sake,
the
you did.
cap off.
You idiot.
So there I was thinking, "Oh, that wasn't painful," and then dreaming
Yeah.
up these symptoms in my head.
Yeah. This is you.
Yeah,
You're
no,
a
but you know what? It
hypochondriac.
actually no, it turned out I also changed up my, blood pressure medication a week before,
Mhm.
and that was causing palpitations, and the hot shower ended up in the nausea. But,
Well,
yeah, it was
with all your medicines that you're on, you have to go and see like a nuclear scientist to figure out precisely what you should and shouldn't do at what time of day and how much of each
yeah, so
one. And I mean,
yeah.
it's not.
So I actually
You've got more
do.
pills than anyone I know.
I see a specialist family physician who is, an expert diagnostic. She basically takes your entire history. She studies everything, which is amazing. And she's
Oh,
actually a nice human being and very personable.
yeah.
Um, she's actually an HIV specialist. which is interesting. So very, very into family medicine
Mm.
and, that sort of thing. But she said to me, "Your medical history is like a Chinese puzzle." And she's still actually trying to put the pieces together. She said, "You are not a hypochondriac. You actually have these issues.
Oh,
I've got the results of all of your blood tests from all of the labs through all of the years. You just have a very unique disposition."
where does she store all those files? She'll need, like, an extra laptop just to put that shit on.
I mean, I walked in there once with piles of big X-ray envelopes. She's been through absolutely everything, which is really
Hey,
a relief.
so enough about your medical history because we could be here all day. What is the price for Ozempic over here, says Bitcoin Butt? And Rebellious Ruth has come in with an answer. She says it's like 6,000 Rand per course per week.
Yeah,
Is that right?
not per week, not per week,
Or what, per
per
month?
per mo yeah, so there's you buy a pen and it has a dosage in it, right? And then
Yeah,
out of that, you're gonna do your small clicks each week using
right.
tiny bits and then using a bigger dose, a bigger dose, a bigger dose. So, yeah, it's about over 5,000 rand for a pen.
Mm,
And the thing is, if you are diabetic, you're still not gonna pass easily for medical aid to pay for this. You would have to go
mm.
for, like, advanced. I don't know. I'll get there eventually. But, yeah, but the side effects are there. My the big one that people get is, either diarrhea or constipation, and I've had
Mm,
both.
nice.
The nausea has
Mm,
finally subsided now, but it was just this kind of continuous nausea. Yes, appetite suppressant. So, in fact, it's all it what it really does from my understanding is okay, so look at antidepressants. If there's a line of normal mood, and
mhm.
then you get somebody who's depressed, they're gonna be working, like,
Below.
below this line here. Somebody who's bipolar might do something like this and go through periods of being too happy and too hyper. It's the same with this. So normal people like you have food
Normal.
noise. You'll only feel like eating, or you'll only think about food when your body really needs it. Food's not a
Mm,
big thing to you. You don't thrive on these cooking shows and think about what you're gonna eat next. And that just brings it down. The hormone that you're taking brings it down to normal levels. So you stop thinking about food.
yeah.
It just cuts out that food noise. Not that food has always been an issue for me. I'm not an overeater. I'm actually an undereater, and I've had to start eating more now.
Sure. So I actually saw this comment from Dumisani Maseko who says we could make a whole series on Leanne's health. Yeah, but I mean, it would be exhausting. Can you imagine? Um, I got to tell you what I got up to last Friday. So I'll get to that in a second. But I see a lot of people in the comments this morning, and this is what I love about doing a live show: is you find out stuff before everyone else, right? And it's also the reason that we start the show at 6 a.m. because we get to hear the information before anybody else. I know someone was complaining last week that because the show isn't every day, it feels like we're behind on the news. But this morning, one of the big stories people are talking about is the gold and silver price, which is insane at the moment. So apparently, I mean, this is the live gold price at the moment: 75,638 rand and 19 cents an ounce. Huge. It's gone up from like 63,000 a month ago to 75,000. I mean, that's a massive increase. And silver from about 720 rand an ounce to 941. So if you own any gold and silver at the moment, you are loving it. This is very, very good news. And there are various reasons for that we can get into as well. I also spoke to some friends last week. The big thing they were worried about is the Bitcoin price because that went down the toilet. Well, it was a major downer in a
Well,
market that's been kind of going like this and like this and like this, up and up and up the whole time.
there was a whole market, not crash, but dip,
Mm.
this last week.
Yeah. No, no, there's clearly a lot of things happening, and I mean, you can blame the US, you can blame global supply chains, you can blame commodity prices, you can blame. I listened to a fascinating podcast yesterday, not the kind of thing I would normally listen to, from the guys who do the All In podcast. So I think it was Chamath and David Friedberg, and they were talking about they were talking to Aaron Sorkin, the guy who wrote all those TV shows like The West Wing, and he's written a book about the 1929 stock market crash, the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And I mean, what a fascinating story about, what led to it, who was actually responsible, how the government got involved. I mean, it's an incredible story. I'm looking forward to seeing the book once it comes up. By the way, for this morning, we are also going to be joined a little bit later on by Ben. Dr. Hanan will be joining us. We've got Mash coming in a little bit later. And we had a bunch of guests, but we had to kind of move them because of the change with the studio this morning. So if you're just joining us this morning, it's not because anyone is late. It's not because James or Leanne or I fucked up, or Flex for that matter, because he seems to get off scot free when there's blame being handed around. It's because the studio.
It always defaults to James.
Yeah, exactly. You just hide behind James, and then the insults kind of miss you. They built this incredible set in our studio, which we've been filming in all week, and we would have hopefully finished by yesterday. But then they called me yesterday at about lunchtime and said, "Looks like we might have to do the show a different way tomorrow." So that's why we're not live in studio this morning. It's not because anyone screwed up. So just in case anyone was wondering. High expectations, Judas says, bring great disappointments. Comparisons need to be done. You can never trust anyone 100%. You have to trust with a few pinches of doubt towards people. The hearts are deceitful. And I think she's talking about, serial killers and things. I don't think she's talking about the Bitcoin or silver price.
No, no,
Yeah.
yeah. No emotion
I can
attached to that.
Carl DeSantos says, I completely forgot about this fucking show. I'm not used to this once a week, cuck. Hey, you're here, Carl. That's all that matters. Gareth, do me a favor. Pull up the max chart for gold to Bitcoin the other way around. Yeah, I mean, listen, Bitcoin is still, it's still trading at unbelievable highs compared to like where it was a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. But, we become so used to it going up and up and up that I think people seem to think, "Oh my god, it's finally failing," if they don't like it. And the reality is it's still, a very good investment by all accounts. So you just have to have the stones for it, I suppose. Um, Carl also says, "James is about as useful as Anne Frank's drum kit." That's a hell of a comparison. Alright, so last Friday, my sister-in-law, who I've got to give her credit, like, she's the only one who thinks about things like this because I mean, we do lots of family things together. We see a lot of each other, their brides and their birthday parties and all that kind of thing. So we like spending time with each other. It's not like it's a chore. And
Do you spend
she
time with
sent it.
with her family?
So her mom is no longer around, but her dad lives in the Cape. So we see him probably around Christmas time, and
Mm.
and then she's got a sister who lives overseas as well. So not as much. I mean,
Okay.
it's kind
So
of
your
yeah. So
family
it's
is
kind
really important to her.
Yeah, she loves it. And she organized this thing last Friday, which I thought I would hate and I thought would be really cheesy and shitty, but it was actually a lot of fun. She organized like a family photo shoot. Have you ever done one of those?
Yeah, I've done one. I did one in Australia many years ago where we all had to kind of wear jeans and a white t-shirt
Yeah.
and
That's
stand
it.
under
Yeah.
trees and things. Yeah.
Exactly. So we all oh, fuck. We all had to dress the same.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, color-wise, and you just got it exactly right. It's like the jeans with the white t-shirt. I was like, "Oh god, I hope no one sees this." It drives past and you know. The reality is it was actually I mean, it was a lot of fun. My sister was saying, "You can't take these things seriously because if you're doing a photo shoot or whatever, the last thing you want is to be serious because if you look serious, the photos come out badly. You don't enjoy the experience, and everybody can tell, like, oh, you were hating this, right? So you actually have to have fun. You have to just relax into it, stop worrying about what anyone thinks, just do what the photographer tells you. And it was like an hour. It wasn't even longer than that. Maybe even 40 minutes. It didn't feel long. And then I'm sure she's got some great pictures out of this. She organized the photographer. We had to go to this one street. I mean, you know what Pretoria is looking like at the moment. It's beautiful with all these jacarandas everywhere. So it
Oh,
looks,
yeah.
perfect setting. And I thought about it afterwards. I was like, well, if you don't plan these kinds of things, and this is where I think she deserves some credit, a lot of credit. If you don't plan something like that, you'll never have it, because the reality is, for most of us, there's always one person in the family who's taking the picture, right? So they're never in any pictures. Even if you rotate that position out, that person isn't the one great picture of the family is always going to be someone missing. So
Yeah.
this is nice, and I also thought it's nice for my parents. It'll be nice for my nephews when they grow up to remember it. And they both looked so cute. They were wearing their little white shirts and their jeans, and you know. But it's a very it feels like such a lame thing to do, but I think it's actually a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, that the photograph that I'm thinking of that we did in Australia, and that was actually close to 20 years ago, is
Yeah,
still my mom's favorite. And, as you get
yeah,
older, you start enjoying photographs more. Well, I don't know about older, but you kind of hit this age where photographs become everything to you. And my
hmm,
mom's at that stage. I think it helps refresh their memory at that age, in your 70s, and you really just treasure a photograph. But she's still that's like one of her favorite photographs. Even though
oh, for
my
sure.
ex-husband's in it, and there's some people there that we don't talk to anymore, that we've sued in the meantime, and they haven't spoken to them in 15 years.
Funny. Um, Bitcoin Bit says, why in the old days did they choose to not smile in photos? Well,
Yes.
there are a couple of
I was
reasons.
gonna say, you were saying if you couldn't be solemn during something like this. Well, if it was 1820, you'd need to be.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons they didn't smile in pictures, and there's that Ways to Die in the West movie, which is so funny that they did. They all pose for the pictures by looking extremely serious. But one of the reasons that they didn't like to smile in the pictures is because they thought that the camera was stealing your soul, like it was a very scary thing, right? They were
Imagine what
genuinely
they think
terrified.
of AI.
Oh my god! And let me tell you, after last week's show, some people who listen to the show obviously been sending me videos on Instagram from all kinds of creators who've been using that Sora app, which James says you can't get in South Africa, but I don't know. Some people have hacked it, and it is fucking terrifying. I saw two that people send me of the Queen, and the one is of like the Queen in a hardware store, and she's buying tools. Now, this is the Queen who died in what, 2022 or 23. And she's like, "Here, I'd like that drill, please." And I'm like, "Good Lord." And it looks so real. And there's one where she has a fight with somebody. She like jumps off the side of a cage at a MMA fight. She like jumps down on somebody and attacks them. It's hilarious. But at the same time, it's terrifying because you think, holy shit, there will be a day where they won't be able to where we won't be able to tell the difference between the AI and reality. So you're not gonna
Yeah,
know what to believe.
I think we went into this last week a little bit, and since then, I mean, just within a week, so
Mm,
much more of my feeds are AI, but you can
yeah,
tell.
yeah,
You can be fooled, but the more we're learning AI just as much as AI is learning us. And I'm now very easily in a week space of a week through watching one person who explained the differences and what to look out for, the blurry
yeah,
edges, all the little tips and cues. But
mhm,
more and more of my feed has been taken up by AI. And I remember last week we were saying, well, eventually so much will be AI that we'll no longer use our phones for entertainment and just only trust what we see in person.
Yeah. Gray says, I just did a Red Bull campaign, fully AI animated. I can believe it. But, it kind of makes doing amazing things like climbing Everest or jumping out of a plane or swimming with sharks. It makes it all seem stupid because you could rather just generate an AI video in the comfort of your home, not have to put your life in danger, and then show everybody. I mean, the other thing that really bothers me is the one some guy is like taking pictures of himself and it looks like he's with Taylor Swift or with, Donald Trump or whatever. And I only mentioned Donald Trump and Taylor Swift because those seem to be two of the people that people want to be in photos with and show their
Mm,
friends and family. Very bizarre. I mean, I've always thought the idea of, taking a picture with someone famous. I've been there. I mean, I took pictures with like proper Hollywood celebrities because it was an important thing for me to say I met them. And the only way you could prove that is with a picture. But now you generate a fake one. And people are going to, for a little while anyway, they're still going to believe you. That will subside. Like eventually people are not going to believe anything. And
mm,
I mean, what have I got here? I've got a picture here of me and Nelson Mandela that we
mm,
took. This was probably 2004, 2003, somewhere around there. And it doesn't, I mean, like, I could generate a much better one now with AI. I wouldn't, and this is like an actual photo, and people are like, "Oh, that's a bit stupid. Why do you even have a real photo? You could just have an animated, like, photo frame that just shows 100,000 different photos." But you know what? I don't know that there's value in those fake things or in those digital assets of memories. I mean, again, going for a photo shoot, doing it properly, being there with the whole family, like the experience was worth it, right? So I'm sure that if you took a whole bunch of pictures of us that are already on the internet, on social media, and all the rest, and you said just generate a family group photo, it could probably do it to within a fairly accurate degree where we'd all look like ourselves and everything else. But the experience of doing it is pretty fucking awesome. And
yeah.
that is you can't take that away from people, and you also can't, replace it with some digital version. It's just not gonna work.
Again, back to the family photo in Australia. You look at
Mm.
that and you remember what was going on at the time, who was fighting with who, which hotel you were staying in, um, the argument about what you were gonna wear, the fact that you were worried about what people would think, the whole story with you
Yeah.
saying you were worried about what people might think, what you did on the day. You're gonna remember all of that when you look at it, that photograph. An AI
Yep.
generated one, you look at it for a second and you've got no other context to put with it,
No.
besides maybe, "Look what it did with my left pinky."
Well, Bitcoin But brings up all those fat people videos that are on the internet now with AI people, or AI generation. They've got the fat people, and like she jumps off the boat, and then the whole boat goes underwater, or she grabs the
Oh,
swing, and the fucking tree breaks. And I mean, I love those. Don't get me wrong; they make me laugh like a drain. I love those. Upload the photo and create a video of you and Mandela together. Well, you can do that too, says Bitcoin. But Donna says, yeah, but fake will never really compare to the real life experiences. Yeah, that's true. Have you ever asked your Uncle Cyril if you can have a photo outside Cat's house? Did you see the pathetic explanation that he gave? It turns out this that this criminal Cyril's nephew, he doesn't remember. Yeah, I've been all over this story this week because I'm just horrified at the. I've said we spoke about this last week, so I don't need to go over it again. But it seems to me like the only reason some people want to get rich is to impress people they don't know, which is so weird. And I get it. I mean, like some part of me gets it. It's, I've got a Lamborghini, and I've got so much money. I'm going to get four of them in the same color. And then I suppose, when you drive past people, then maybe you think you're a big deal. It's like those people who turn on loud music in their cars. Terrible music. It's always terrible music. And then they'll stop in parking lots or whatever, and the music is on super loud, so that if you're on a
Well, they're
call,
basically
then
forcing their music into your ears.
yeah, right. And it's the same thing with a Lamborghini. I never look at those people. And listen, don't get me wrong. I've never been a Lamborghini fan, but if you gave me a Ferrari, I would be thrilled to drive it for at least a couple of weeks, maybe even months. So I'm not going to pretend I'm one of those people who's like, oh no, I wouldn't want one of those. The reality is, though, I would want it for me. And I think a lot of people like this Hangwani or whatever his name is, the cousin of Cyril, the nephew of Cyril from his first marriage. This guy seems to have been doing this to impress people he doesn't even know who wouldn't want to know him. I mean, he's clearly not a talented, brilliant person. And the only reason he made all this money is because he's a crook. And to have 4 Lamborghinis that all look exactly the same in your garage is like it's just a desperate cry for help. It's like, "Please notice me. Please like me. Please give me some attention because nobody cares about me." And I'm daddy didn't give me enough hugs, that kind of shit we always joke about.
I just
And then
feel
this
if if
Mhm.
if if I was stealing that money, I if I mean, it sickens me. I can't even imagine doing it. But
Mm.
surely you'd want to hide it? But no, he was
Yeah,
to the level of sickness that he actually flaunted his stolen money.
right.
Like,
Yes, they can't help
you
it.
know?
And this is the thing that drives me up the wall is like people already know. We've spoken to guys at SARS on the show. What SARS do in their special investigation teams is they go on social media and they watch people posting themselves getting onto a plane in first class or driving a sports car down the street, or they film the inside of their house like they're on an episode of Top Billing. And ironically, his house was used for an episode of Top Billing.
Yes.
And then I because they're trying to impress people that they'll never meet. It's fine if you're trying to impress people you actually know. Maybe you've got like a friendly rivalry competition going with some friends of yours. And this is a very guy thing. But I get a serious kick out of seeing my friends doing well. I love it when, one of them will do a really big deal in business and they'll buy themselves something cool, a car or a watch or a whatever. And I don't think that's boasting and bragging. I think that's like rewarding yourself for having done
Mm.
an extremely heavy job, and that's great. But I'm taking pleasure in it. It's not about they doing it to try and impress anybody. It thrills me that they've done something for themselves. It doesn't impress me that someone who's stolen money, 2 billion rand from a hospital in Tembisa, it's just
Which
it's so
resulted in
sick.
children's deaths, for instance, and
Yeah, of
people's
course, of
deaths.
course. Of course. But then the update, which is what we were talking about here in the comments just a second ago, is that Cyril was asked about this in a press conference. So he's like, I don't know him. I've bumped into him once. I was jogging. I happened to be jogging past the house, and that was when that picture was taken of me shaking his hand outside the house. I mean, how stupidly embarrassing. You have to be a complete ignoramus to think that that's a valid excuse. And it shows you what a low quality human our president is. He's so ignorant that he thinks we're gullible enough to buy the fact that, and by the way, he changed his story too. So the first time he was asked, he's like, no, I don't know him at all. And then his spokespeople are like, well, you heard from the president. He doesn't know him at all. Then about 2 days later, that picture arrives. And
Yeah.
people are like, well, here you are standing outside the house in question, which is in Sandhurst. It's a mansion. It's like 100 million rand mansion. Cyril's right there. He must have been inside. He knows what's going on. And he must know this guy is not some kind of fucking innovation genius who's come up with a cure for cancer. He must know this guy's like some gangster fucking crook. And then the president quickly changes his tune. He's like, well, yes, I have met him once or twice. And Yeah, he's a distant relative, but I don't know him that well, and we've never seen each other or discussed business. I certainly don't know anything about his business. I mean, like, just stop lying. You're so bad at lying. That's the worst part, right? Anyway,
It's his
Hermine
job to
says,
know what's going on in
yeah,
people's
well,
lives when they're at
yeah.
that level of rich.
You know how many
Ugh.
people are pissed off about this? So I was at the gym yesterday, and this guy comes up to me. He must be, I don't know, like a 50-year-old, 50-something-year-old black guy. He comes up to me, he says, I saw your clip about uh, Cyril's nephew. So I said to him, yeah, what did you think? Because I'm interested in hearing from people when, I'm standing at the counter at the Kauai or whatever. So he says to me, people are really pissed off, hey? I said to him, it's a strange thing. It's people are furious. They're like really, really angry about this because it's just it's so gross. If you stole the money from like public works or whatever, which is already, I mean, all of these government departments are a disaster. But if they'd stolen it from some, Cyril's Lanceria fucking city of the future or whatever, which has never happened, nothing's ever happened, right? That world class new futuristic city that he was talking about in the one State of the Nation address. That's never
Yeah.
happened. If they stole money from that, you'd be like, okay, well, that was a ball of shit anyway. But because it's from a hospital, and the point of this guy telling me the story, and the reason I bring it up now, is that there are thousands of people all over South Africa, millions of people all over South Africa who've just had it up to here. We're used to a certain amount of theft, but when we see
Mm.
the vulgarity of this, and the fact that it's a guy who is the nephew of the president, even if it's through marriage or whatever, it's just such an obvious indictment on rules for thee, but not for me, and how BEE is actually a big scam to just get people who are connected to the political elite into cushy positions. And everyone can see through it now, so no one is impressed. CR's
Yeah.
nosy neighbor
It's
just ran him
becoming
in.
more and more prevalent.
Uh,
We're seeing it more and more, which is great.
yeah, yeah, it's gross. James, just give me a signal on the chat here because I've got a separate little chat when Hanan is there, so I can bring him on screen. And we haven't done this virtual shit in so long. I don't even know how to do this. So just give me the signal. I'm waiting for your bat signal, James. Tell me when Hanan is there. As I said, Mash and Ben will be with us, so the full team here this morning, and we've got plenty to talk about. Hey, before we go to Hanan, James, I sent you a couple of clips this morning. Would you put on, because I know Leanne is a huge fan of this stuff, the world's longest fart? A guy broke the Guinness Book of Records. No, this is great. This guy broke the Guinness
So
Book of Records.
you had to have been in a place, right, where they were measuring,
Yeah.
recording,
Oh yeah.
having
No,
this.
no, this is Leanne, this is very serious. And I know you're an
Oh no,
expert
this
and
is.
aficionado. This is right up your street. This is the kind of
Oh
thing
yeah.
that you'd be the perfect judge. So the point here is to get a continuous fart. So you can't have it in pieces. You can't have like a broken staccato fart. You have to have a continuous pushing out of air of the anus for as long as possible. And I found this remarkable. James, you got that clip for us? Play it for us. There we go.
Abrió,
Una persona, ¿no?
Le mando.
Cae ronronea.
Esto es una aventura.
Que siga, que siga.
No puedo creer.
Que siga, que siga, que siga, que siga. No pares.
Amigo, esto es un recorrido. Chicos,
Está al mango, o sea, tío, en potencia.
esto no es joda, chicos. Amigo.
No pares, no pares.
Amigo.
No pares, está rompiendo el récord Guinness, no pares. Ay. Amigo,
Amigo.
amigo.
Huh?
But that took a level of skill. I mean, you've got to you've got to give him credit for. You've got to let it out at a certain speed. You can't just there's so many elements. That's amazing.
I'm so impressed with that. To me, forget the Nobel Peace Prize going to that woman in Venezuela or Donald Trump. I think this guy should get the Nobel Peace Prize. I don't see how it fits into Peace Prize, but I'm willing to learn new things, All right, while we're trying to get hold of Hanan, here are two ways that you can greet people. The first is do you remember Barbara Cartland, the romance novel author from the 1960s and 70s, who always used to wear pink? Here she is opening up a health food store, and this is probably the best way to greet people. So for this weekend, I want you to listen to this over and over and plan it, so that you can say it exactly the way she says it. So show them Barbara Cartland, and then we'll contrast it with somebody else.
What a lovely party. Marvellous you all look. And a lovely day too, aren't we lucky?
What a lovely party.
What a lovely party. And how marvelous you all look. What a lovely day. How lucky we are. Okay, so that's one way to do it. However, if you are feeling less friendly, you're feeling a little bit more cranky this weekend, then maybe this is how you should greet people.
Jou maak 'n push op. Jou maak 'n push, my maak 'n push. Jy het 'n trill, ek het 'n push. Jou nee. Ek gaan jou bitter seer maak as jy nou hier kom. Kom uit.
I like her. You would not fuck with her, right? I mean, you know that woman. There's a reason that they've got like bars up there.
Yeah, look, she may not have teeth, but she's pretty vicious.
This is very vicious. Julius Malema can claim him singing Kill the Boer is fake and nobody can prove it's not, except the plus minus 80,000 people who were in the stadium know what they saw, says Herman. And that's obviously to do with, the fake stuff that's been floating around on the internet. Slippery Pickle says, material things are fleeting. Now taking a dump on Gareth's ensuite. That is a feeling that can really last. Yeah, I mean, you know how much I would hate that. I think I am the only person who has ever used my lavatory in my bathroom for that purpose. Ever. I don't think anyone else has. I've never allowed anyone else to use that particular loo. Yeah, I think
that's changed because I mean, I remember being at your house and even the guest loo had a sign up saying no shitting.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very against it. I'm very against it. So it's a terrible thing. Kevin Harris says it sounds like a South African presidential cabinet speech. Which one, Barbara Cartland or the chick in the shop? Chris Langen is the world's most intelligent man, and he's a bouncer. That's impressive. When you say intelligent, are you talking about IQ? Because I know there's a guy who is on the internet. I follow him. He's either on X or on Instagram, one of the two. He's apparently got the highest measured IQ of any living person at the moment. And I got to be honest with you, he doesn't say things that are much more interesting than what Leanne and I talk about every Friday. I mean, I actually think we're doing better.
Well, that's
Leanne,
because we've got the second. That's because you and I have the second and third highest IQs.
Yes, that's right. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. That was quite right. I have a stomach disorder. I could beat that record with my eyes closed, says Carl. Really? Carl, you've got to record yourself doing a fart. We play that on the show. If you can do more than, because that was at least, what, a minute and 15 seconds?
If you can do a quarter of that, I'd still want to watch it.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the room, don't get me wrong. But I'd like to see you try. All right, let's get to Hanan. Dr. Hanan is here. I've been meaning to meet you for a coffee or something for such a long time now, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'm sorry about that, Doc. How are you doing? And with all this fake shit on the internet, do you think that there's still going to be a place for psychologists? I mean, is that going to be like that human need? Is that something that's going to increase with time?
So we definitely should do the coffee. We'll definitely do it.
Mm,
And the yeah, AI. Listen, AI is getting really, really, really good. It's getting really good at replicating empathy. I'm sure you've
yeah.
experimented with all these AI agents, and
Hmm.
you start chatting to them, and you actually think within a couple of minutes you get fooled into thinking you're speaking to a real human being, because we have a
Yeah.
deep need to relate and correspond and dynamically get involved with another person. So the moment it responds like another person, we think it's another person. But nothing beats
Yeah.
face-to-face contact. Nothing beats it. You can chat to ChatGPT all you want, and it can get really clever at these algorithms and trying to convince you that it's real. But sitting next to somebody, hugging them, holding them, the real human
No.
contact, that is not yet. You can't replicate that yet.
All right. So this is actually alongside the topic that I wanted to bring up with you this morning anyway, because I think it's something, a lot of people are looking for ways that they can make themselves useful in the economy. And probably for many of us, it's what kind of job, what sort of skills do I need? Obviously one area, and that's why I sort of tongue in cheek asked you about psychology. But one area that is there's going to explode in terms of job openings and skills that will be required is actually looking after people, and looking after them mentally, looking after them physically, looking after them in emotional ways. Obviously, this is something that for anybody who's young and wants to make themselves useful in the future economy, you might have said 10 years ago, learn to code, but that's not a thing anymore. Now you should learn to care. Do you think that's a valid change in the tea leaves? That learning to care is actually a bigger deal? Being able to make a difference in someone else's life, being able to give them physical and mental and spiritual assistance is what will become the new hot zone of the economy.
It will definitely be in demand. If you think about it, every industry that is predicated and needs to find pattern and pattern recognition will be replaced by AI. Nothing will beat AI's capability of recognizing patterns. So from
Sure.
even medical diagnosis, recognizing patterns, AI will just overtake the human capability. But in terms of relating to another human being, how do you quantify that? That is social intelligence, emotional maturity that will be in high demand. You'll see in the next 5, 10, 15 years, people will value human interaction more than anything else. Or, getting somebody to walk your dog will be incredibly valuable. Getting somebody to sit down and have a conversation with you, or a
Hmm.
real conversation with you will be incredibly valuable. Having somebody, entertain you through any means, whether it's TV or social media and real life, will be incredibly valuable. Human touch, human interaction will be incredibly valuable because it will be scarce. AI still is not able to replicate that. Robots can't replicate that. And human
Mm.
beings, for 200,000 years, we have survived through human interaction. We live in communities. We survive through a group of people. We never survive alone. We can't survive alone. We don't like it. That's why being isolated is the number one cause for depression, anxiety, and mental ill health. We like groups of people. We like to integrate into groups of people. Being rejected, isolated doesn't work. So the human interaction, the human touch will be incredibly valuable for sure. Learning how to be emotionally much more nuanced, learn to be much more emotionally intelligent and advanced. That will serve you well in the future.
So, Doc, do you think it's going to manifest as a kind of generational resentment or burnout along the way? Because this is something experts are already talking about, that the next generation of people who are going to enter the workforce may be a little resentful that they can't do some of the cool jobs. I mean, we probably didn't think they were cool when we started them, but there are various jobs that, as you rightly point out, that will be taken over by machines, by AI, by robots. Um, Maybe these people are going to be resentful because they're going to be forced into the services world, which may not be as lucrative, perhaps, as the product world or you know, the kinds of jobs that might have been available now 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Do you think people might be a little resentful when they compare themselves, which inevitably happens, to people who came before?
Well, you should never compare yourself to anybody else, as you said many times. That's the thief
Yeah.
of happiness. You should compare yourself
Hmm.
to the next version of yourself. But what I
Yeah.
think and what I see in my practice, people struggling the most is this need for change. Obviously, as the world is changing and it's changing at a crazy, rapid pace more than ever before, people have to adapt. People have to adapt to a new world, a new lifestyle, new needed professions, new available professions, and the need to actually adapt to what the world needs from you and what other people need from you is very challenging for people. You know, the human brain likes familiarity, likes to stick with what it knows, and the human brain would rather have and stick to what it knows, which could be bad for it, rather that than jump out of its comfort zone and look for something better. But that's very scary. The human
Mm.
brain likes to conserve what we call metabolic energy. And to conserve metabolic energy, it needs to stay with what it knows because it requires zero energy output. So adapting, changing in the new world is very difficult, and that's where the burnout comes in, where people now have to develop new skill set, new identities, and new ways of engaging the world outside of their comfort zone, which they're not used to. But that is the order of the day. The ones that will survive and will prosper are the ones that can adapt out of their comfort zone. The ones that stick to what they know, those are the ones that are going to perish. So if you want to do well in life, whether it's financially, in terms of happiness, a sense of purpose, be fulfilled in life, you've got to get comfortable with the uncomfortableness outside of your comfort zone and adapt.
I'm just checking the list for today of who the top people in our comment section are, and obviously it's the people with the very high IQs. Um, we were talking about that just a second ago. Have you ever, in your practice, you probably meet a lot of really intelligent people and a lot of people who, I don't know, maybe they're average, maybe even some people who are of low intelligence, who knows? But do you think there's any relation between the ability for people to communicate effectively, to be compassionate, the stuff that we were talking about in the new economy that's coming? Is there any relation between that and people with what is obviously high intelligence? And I'm sure you've learned how to assess very quickly whether someone is above average in, in smartness. You don't need to sit with a people and do an IQ test like the rest of us would. Have you ever seen any correlations there at all?
So there's a big difference between EQ and IQ. So I
Mm,
find that actually people with a high IQ suffer with mental ill health a lot more than people with maybe lower IQ. And the reason why is people with high IQ, they have a deep need to make sense of their world, and they usually do. And what ends up happening is they get trapped into an endless loop trying to make sense of things that they should not make sense of. So the moment you go
yeah,
internal and try to figure out why you're feeling anxious or why you're feeling depressed, and why your mom did this when you were 6, and why your dad deserves that, and why there's a sense of injustice, you get yourself into an endless loop which causes anxiety. People
right.
perhaps who are less skilled at doing that, who have got maybe lower IQ, don't have the need to do that, and they just move forward. And I always say the sign of good mental health is just move forward. Don't try to overanalyze. Don't try to over understand. There's no need to go introspective. There's no reason to go internal and try to figure out what's going on inside of you. Just move forward. In the 1990s, there was a big movement towards be introspective, be internal, try to figure out what's happening inside of you. That's a sign of good mental ill health. Now we know that's the opposite. The more internal you go, the more internal you try and figure out what's going on
Mm.
inside of you, the more you'll get yourself into an endless loop, which is the reason why you feel anxious.
Well, I mean, this is true, right? This is why Leanne is so much smarter than me because she's constantly worried about her mental health. I'm just an idiot. I just keep forging forward. I couldn't give a shit. I don't even take the time to think about this. I'm obviously very low IQ, but I'm happier than she is. What can I say?
This is the theory that I've always had. Is like when it comes to something simple like exercise and diet,
Mm,
I would go down a wormhole and analyze absolutely everything that was happening exercise or diet-wise. And there next to me would be someone, and I mean, I hate to be disparaging, but some woman on a treadmill who isn't thinking about anything, and she looks great, she's getting it all done, she doesn't
Yeah.
question anything, she just eats more and
'Cause
runs
she
less, or sorry, the
'cause
other way
she's,
around.
no, it's 'cause she's fucking stupid. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm trying to say. She just goes, she moves forward and does it instead of all this
And Leanne,
analysis and
I'm telling you, Leanne, trust me, that is the secret. To think less and do more. Just
Right.
look forward. Chin up. Just what's next for you? How do you level up? How do you become a better friend? How do you become a better daughter? How do you become a better sister? How do you become more financially secure? How do you become healthier? What do I need to do? And just go and do it. Don't stop and think. The stopping and thinking is what creates the depression, the anxiety, the feeling of stuckness, which leads to helplessness and hopelessness. Just move forward.
Yeah, and who has the time to get stuck in all that shit from the past? I mean, I don't care. People come up to me and they're
But
like,
you know
"Oh,
what,
you said
Gareth, that's
this thing the
100%
other
right.
day."
You know what it is? How many people are just bored with their lives? I swear, if you were just more busy, if you had a sense of purpose, if you had something to chase and something to do, you'd have less time to overthink about, stupid things and things that you can't control. Just be busy with meaningful things in your life, which will stop you from overthinking.
Hey, Dr. Hanan, don't you think that people who watch serial killer documentaries and TV series and true crime, don't you think those people are fucked in the head as well? Come on, we can finally get the honest truth out of you here.
100%.
Yeah, there we go. See, Leanne? You're a raving lunatic, Leanne.
I've finally been correctly diagnosed by Dr. Hanan.
When we do that lunch, I'm going to bring a piece of paper that just says "fucked in the head," and then you need to sign at the bottom, and then I'm just going to tag it onto Leanne. You can use your stamp or whatever. I want to tie it to the front of her outfit every day when she comes into work. It's great. All right.
I
Listen,
don't need a label for that. People know.
Oh, they can see it from a mile away. They're like, "Oh, here she comes quickly. Pretend you're busy." All right, Doc, have an awesome weekend. We will we'll catch up with you next
Same
Friday.
to you guys.
Yeah, we must organize to get you in studio at some point as well. I know you're very, very busy, but people love it when you're on. So let's do something.
Yeah, I would love that. Okay. See you guys. Bye.
All right. Very good. Isn't it sad, says Chris Smith, that parents are so obsessed about telling people how smart their kids are? Oy, oy. And the things they make these children do to try and prove that they've got the smartest kid.
But
I'm
also,
doing another.
Chris Smith sounds like Christmas with a lisp. I don't know what your parents were thinking.
Hey, we've only got 12 weeks left of this year, Leanne.
Before Christmas.
Chris Smith, yeah. Listen,
Yeah,
I'm doing
that's
another
pretty
family thing on Saturday, which I'm actually I like this. People always want to know what I'm doing, and I tell you what, this week honest to God, I've done 2 things all week. I've done nothing exciting. I maybe made a nice supper for myself on one of the nights, but I work and I do a little bit of exercise. That's the whole of my week. So by the time the weekend arrives, I'm like, I'm happy to do nothing, you know?
Yeah.
On Saturday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to watch one of the nephews playing. I don't even know, rugby, soccer, hockey, tennis, who the fuck knows? I'm going to go and see some of that. And I think it's probably going to be fun. I mean, I haven't been at a school since I was at school, which is so long ago that I don't even think
man,
schools
you
look
had
the
your
same.
nephews. You had one of your nephew's things at school recently.
No, Leanne, please. That was at their school. This is apparently another one, and they were all going there to take on this school in a bunch of different stuff. Let me tell you something. I'm going to scream obscenities from the sidelines. They're going to wish they'd never invited me. I'm going to upset everybody. Harmin says, smart kids are so yesterday. Every second kid has 10 distinctions and excels in 12 sports. I'm very unimpressed by it. Well, imagine being the parents of those kids and you're constantly having to show everyone else how clever your children are. What a way to live. Hey, Ben, what's up?
Hi, Gareth. Hi, Leanne.
Oh,
wow.
Nice to see you, man.
What's that
How
you
is
have
your-
in front of you?
Ben, how was your
It's a
first week
microphone, yeah.
back? How was your first week back in South Africa without flying somewhere extravagant and exotic? You must be very bored.
Well, Pearl Valley was pretty extravagant and fantastic. I spent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday there. What a place, hey? Yeah, that was very cool. Went down for a little golf tournament. Very cool week.
Very cool.
And yeah, I've had 2 days in Joburg and now a good stretch. Going to go to the Kruger next week. Just living life, huh?
So what did Leanne think that thing was that you were holding up there? I mean, what were you imagining?
Well, if it's a microphone, can you let it go? Can it stand, or you're holding it in front of you?
Jeepers, Leanne, this is a rocking conversation to start. It is being held, and if I really want to put it down, it does have a stand. Christ, there's nothing but the best on Fridays, huh?
I was just a little bit confused, is all.
Oh my God. All right. Well, I do want to get into something that Ben put on the agenda. And, we don't really prepare the show, but there are things that come up in the week. If we don't write them down, we're just going to leave them behind. So this is apparently, and astronauts are going back to the moon is something that I think I am interested in, because when was the last time we put a man on the moon? It was probably in the early 80s. Am I right?
50 years ago. I think it was 50 years ago that the last time someone went to the moon. Some people think we never went to the moon. That opens up a huge can of worms, this whole moon stuff. But yeah, they're going to go back. But the thing is, like, they go back now and they've got cameras and they've got really high tech things. So they reckon they're going to map out parts of the moon that no one's seen before.
Yeah, the funniest thing about the moon, and it always takes, it forces me to think outside of the way that I know that things work, is that the one side of the moon is always facing away from us, and we've never seen it. We see the same fucking side all the time. You'd think occasionally the moon would turn around and show us its backside, but it never does. And there are parts of that side of the moon that we've never ever seen. We know there might be aliens building a base there. I mean, there were all those stories from science fiction about how the Nazis were planning to build a base on the dark side of the moon, and that's where they're going to launch their new attack from. Like there's a 109-year-old Hitler who's like building bases on the dark side of the moon, but we haven't seen it. I mean, we there may be photographs of it taken from space telescopes and space stations, but we've never seen it.
What if it's the intergalactic Epstein Island, the dark side?
Oh my God! Yeah, that's where all the politicians go when they resign here on Earth, because God knows they're not around, and they're not around for us to see anymore. I don't see them around. I don't see them at the shops or wandering through places in South Africa for holidays or whatever. They just seem to disappear. Maybe they're there. I'd like to send some politicians to the moon. I mean, there's a long list.
Yeah.
Why do we want to send people to the moon though in 2025? And why the long gap of 50 years in between? Did we lose the technology? Did it become too expensive? What's the reason that they've decided to kickstart this thing again, Ben?
Oh, I reckon we just got busy doing other stuff, and then the internet came up, and then then we started dancing for each other. We started getting fat. I mean, we've been busy as humans, if you think about it. And now it's like, hey, we can go back. And I was watching the sort of like little press conference that all the astronauts were kind of getting into. And they all look like absolute turbo nerds. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. But what they were saying is like, we have the chance to inspire the world and everyone to look out and be hopeful and optimistic. and I thought it was kind of cool. But I mean, does like a moon expedition inspire you guys? You look at this and go, you know what? The world's turning around. We're going back to the moon.
All right. So
Well, the
personally,
world would need to turn around for us to see the other side of the moon. But no, I don't. It's the first thing I thought, and it's so close-minded, was, but it all looks the same. Earth is so interesting with its oceans and land and different temperature zones, ice
yeah.
and tropical
People.
forests, whereas the moon and people and buildings and life,
Yeah.
whereas the moon just looks like it may look the same all the way around.
Yeah. It's boring.
It's like
Okay,
Delmas,
so
basically.
worse than Delmas. At least Delmas has some life. But the reality is this: I don't have any desire to personally go into outer space. If you gave me a free ticket, like remember they gave Katy Perry and Oprah's friend Gail and a whole lot of other celebrities
And
free
then they
trips into
became
outer space.
astronauts as well.
Yeah, they were actual astronauts for like 5 minutes or whatever. I have no desire to go into outer space for me, but I think for humanity, and there are going to be people who do want to go into outer space. I think it's terrific. The kinds of advancements that it will allow us to make, we can only calculate over a period of like 50 years. There are things that we're all benefiting from that came as a direct result of 1961-2 when Kennedy said, he famously made that speech of, before this decade is out, we will go to the moon and we will set that goal because we can achieve it. We are great, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he did it. I mean, he died, but the plan went ahead. 1969, Neil Armstrong steps on the moon. But all the things that come from that, I mean, there are components in your cell phone that were only invented as a result of humans needing to get to the moon. So I think it's great that we do this. And I'm a massive fan of Elon trying to get us to become an interplanetary species. I think that's a very, very valid goal to have. Sure, a lot of people will say, well, why do you want to go to Mars? Why don't we just look after Earth? Which is fine. But, ultimately, we are perched on a knife's edge of catastrophe on Earth all the time. You've seen what happens. We're an unstable planet. The crust floats around on the liquid mantle. There are earthquakes and volcanoes and all kinds of terrible things that can happen on a daily basis. And we need to have a plan B. If a comet did hit Earth, like it did when the dinosaurs were around, we wouldn't have a chance. There'd be nothing left. Not one human would. I mean, we'd maybe last an extra 50 to 100 years until everything ran out. But then we'd die. There wouldn't be food. There'd be nothing. We need to have a plan for this stuff if we want to make it into, I love that picture. We want to make it into the next century, the next millennium. So I'm a fan, Ben. I think this is a great idea. I just don't have an interest in going personally.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'd rather this than someone telling me that we all got to be equal and some sort of commie narrative being thrown out. So at least this makes us look up. At least this makes us look out and makes us look away from us. I think a lot of, as always, Dr. Kanan's feature on a Friday is probably the most inspiring and interesting thing I ever listened to. And, he just speaks the sense. And the moon goes into what he was saying about, like, if we just keep looking forward in life, and just keep doing shit, we'll get better. So I mean, look, I'm not like, it must have been great the first moon landing because that was a very exciting time. But I feel like we've seen kind of everything now. It takes a hell of a lot for us jaded old fucks to get excited about most things because we get exposed to everything. But I think it's a really cool thing to worry about, other than people telling you to free Palestine and all that other kind of stuff that we get force fed every single week.
Well, you mentioned this equality thing. So I found this quote this morning, which I actually put on my Instagram before we started the show. It's from Solzhenitsyn, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who says, human beings are born with different capacities. If they are free, they are not equal. And if they're equal, they're not free.
So true.
Spot on. Solzhenitsyn is easily one of the greatest minds, greatest writers of the last 150 years. and he couldn't have said it better. If you are free, you are not equal. And if you're equal, you're not free. So just remember that on those days where you are, as Dr. Hanan says you shouldn't, comparing yourself to other people. So let's look at a couple of other things that are going on this morning. There are some news stories I'd love to have Leanne and Ben's comments on. Let's just get into this because it's a big deal. Bafana have qualified for the 2026 World Cup. And this is an excellent, excellent thing. We need this. After 16 years of not being in World Cups, we've qualified for, and Ben told us how tight the possibilities were for all of this. We had a 3-0 victory over Rwanda. We edged out Benin and Nigeria in our group. And this marks the first time since we hosted it in 2010 that we'll actually be going to the World Cup, which is awesome stuff, right, Ben?
Yeah, Gareth, it's very much like the moon story. It's like going to the moon because we haven't actually qualified for this thing on merit since 2002. Yeah, it's massive. It's a really, really big deal and huge BMT. And like Nigeria did as a massive solid as well by thrashing Benin while we were handling Rwanda. So yeah, it was cool. Hey, there was all those permutations, but ultimately on the final day, it actually was quite chilled. Everyone just got really hammered. Everyone got excited. And now it's on to, can South Africans get into America? So what I can tell you, if you are looking for tickets and you do want to go, you'll probably only be able to find out more like December-ish. So it might not be the worst thing to try to get visa appointments because, South Africa doesn't have a lot of places that's, well, I think as a South African, there's 58 countries in the world you can get visa-free travel to. Obviously, America is not one of them. So that would be the only squirrely thing. But yeah, guys are excited, and rightly so. I mean, like football fans in this country, they are fans of English Premier League teams, and then they suffer their local teams. They don't really get to get in on the international fun. Like the Springboks go to the World Cup, the Proteas go to the World Cup, and we go there, and it's all fun because we get to cheer the team on. Like my friend Cook said it best on X this week. He's like, we can finally go into a World Cup not having to support another team. Like it's such an interesting thing that we've almost just got used to it. But no, we can support our team. They're not going to win it, obviously, but we've got a team at the World Cup, and it's a particularly bloated one this time round. So 48 teams have been sort of shoehorned into this whole setup. But I mean, that's obviously the future of the game. And that's what they want to do. So it's going to be Mexico, Canada, and America, and that will be damn exciting.
So, Ben, one other thing that I need to know before we carry on with this. I heard two guys talking about going to the World Cup and watching Bafana there this week. And they were both complaining about how expensive it is. Now, let's just take the rand-dollar exchange out of that because there's nothing we can do about that. Do you think this will be a more expensive World Cup than the one in Qatar? Because I do recall you saying something vaguely along those lines. And how much more expensive is it going to be?
Yeah. So, I mean, the initial pricing that's come out is, I think, a little bit higher than what people are going to pay. Before things become certain, they're very salacious, and people will look at a certain sort of face value of a ticket and then go, oh, well, that's what it's going to be. So I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as what people have been expecting from what I've heard within the industry. But at the same time, America is expensive. There's no getting around it. It's far to get to. The flights are going to be expensive, and accommodation is going to be really expensive. So it will probably be at least twice as expensive as Qatar, I would imagine. The thing about Qatar is that it's in the middle of the world. It's easy to get to. It's not the longest flights, and they were also desperate to impress the world. America doesn't have to impress anybody. America is just going to say, this is our World Cup, and this is the size of our dick. And you are going to pay to be amongst that. But, this is the thing with that. Like, okay, so then you go, oh, it's not exciting. And then you're 75, 80. You're sitting at home. Life sucks. And you go, I'm really, really happy I saved that money by not going to the World Cup in America. So you got to look at it two ways, guys. Everything's expensive when you live in the third world. It's all expensive. I mean, yeah, I can't put it to you any simpler. Look at your life and where do you want to leverage it? Where do you want to do cool things? And if it means right now, FIFA World Cup in America is that cool thing, make it happen. You've just otherwise what? You're gonna wait to the next World Cup and then suddenly we don't qualify again, or
Yeah.
There is no guarantees about anything. I mean, when we qualified in 2002, the Bafana was a good team, okay? So we probably thought like, yeah, we'll go to the World Cup all the time. They didn't. We had to host the thing. Then we hosted the thing. We'll do this again. Nothing happened. We weren't even there again, as you said, since 2010. So you never know when the next time is, unfortunately. And while you're young, try and make the trip.
I see Hermine says, what a stupid thing to say. So I suppose she's referring to a comment by Goon earlier, not you, Ben, before you start climbing in and ripping her to pieces.
No, I
Goon
like
says,
him, and she's smart. She wouldn't say stupid things.
Yeah, Goon says that William Shatner apparently went into space and cried when he came back. He said it's so empty, there's just absolute nothingness. So yeah, rather than going into outer space, and I think Leanne and I are on this page already, go and watch the World Cup in America. I mean, that does sound like fun. So
If that's what you
I
want,
suppose, yeah, that's a very positive outlook, and there are things worth getting excited about. Like soccer is a big thing in South Africa. We love football. As you said, Ben, our own local soccer is a very different kind of thing to the international stuff. And we usually spend the World Cup trying to find a team that's our second favorite somewhere in the world, Brazil or, fucking England or whatever it is that you support. And now we can finally support our own guys back there. Very, very cool.
So there'll be the group. Yeah, there'll be the group stages. If we get out of the group stages, it'll be amazing. It'll be a really cool thing. But also, like where this lies is that between us now and the World Cup, we go to AFCON. AFCON starts like late December into Jan, and we go to AFCON as a proper team. We've won our World Cup group. We top Group C, so we're the best. I mean, it's a really big thing for the guys, and obviously for huge momentum and confidence to do well at AFCON is going to be hugely important. So, yeah, it's a very exciting time. And it's just...
Sorry, was the... you mentioned that we played Rwanda, and then was it Burkina Faso playing Nigeria?
Benin. Sorry, no.
Benin?
So, yeah, it was Benin, Nigeria. And Benin needed to win.
Was it all African countries in this stage?
Yeah, so how you get into World Cups is that you got to qualify against your local foes, essentially. So we'll get drawn into a Africa Group C, and then within that there will be, like Zimbabwe was there, Lesotho was there, Rwanda, Benin, Nigeria, and then you play them home and away, and the best team goes through. And then after that, all the African groups keep together, and then I think it's the 4 best second place teams get a chance to get another spot. But you want to win. And if you win, you go through. And everyone thinks you're great.
So it'll be the same countries then competing in the AFCON series?
Totally. So, I mean, like the Copa America is just South America. The Euros, obviously just the Euros. And then our version of that is AFCON. So that takes place. And yeah, like the AFCON as well has grown in stature in recent years. It really has. I mean, you think how many great African players go into Europe and make the spine of those teams. It's something to really get excited about as well.
I really appreciate you being so nice to Leanne when she's asking such stupid questions. But there we go.
Yeah, but it's questions for where she cares, Gareth. I mean, there's stupid questions when I've just said something and then you ask the exact same fucking piece of information. Whereas Leanne's gone, okay, so I mean, how do we get to the World Cup? Because she doesn't care. And I didn't preface my conversation by saying, well, because we beat these guys, we're now there. So good job, Leanne.
All right. So we've already kicked off the sport. Let's get into the rest of the sport for this week and this weekend, because it's not just about getting ready for the World Cup next year. What do we got to look forward to this weekend?
Oh, Gareth, before we get into this weekend, let's get into something that is actually amazing. It's absolutely incredible. Rugby's greatest rivalry tour is now a thing. So we know SA and New Zealand are the 2 biggest teams in world rugby, right? That's it. It is the pinnacle. They're number 1 and 2. They've won the most World Cups. They generally are always number 1 and 2 in the world. So what they've done is that they've created this like an old-fashioned tour where New Zealand are going to come here. They're going to play 4 test matches, and they're going to play our 4 United Rugby Championship teams. So this year we spoke a lot about the British and Irish Lions going to Australia. So what it is, basically, it's a version of that, but New Zealand come to us. And then in 2030, we'll go to them and do the same thing. So rather than just playing rugby championship every 4 years, we now get to play the biggest rivals ever. And yeah, it's on. It's been confirmed. The dates have been confirmed. August 2026, 7th of August will be the first game against the Stormers. Then the Sharks after that. Then the Bulls. And then the first test will be 22nd of August next year. Then they go to Ellis Park to play the Lions in front of 2,000 people. And then there'll be 2 more tests. And then on the 12th of September, there'll be a 4th test. But for the fact that they can make lots of money, they'll play that probably in Twickenham, which is great because we love Twickenham. So, it just gets better and better as a sports fan. It's like all our wishes are coming true. Bafana's going to the World Cup. We're getting a proper test series. Like, I think it was 30 years ago. It was the last time we had a proper test series when New Zealand came here. So all of these things, people are going to the moon. We're going to World Cups tours. Like, it's just great. If you're not excited right now and or happy, you have to ask the question, do you actually want to be? Because this is great. Look how great it is. Even James pulls the screen up. That's when you know it's great.
I know. That's when you know.
Action packed, guys. So yeah, there is rugby this weekend. So the URC kind of started under the radar because we're all talking rugby championship. We were all hungover from how great the Springboks were. But URC's cracking on here. And it's really cracking on for the Stormers. They've come out of the gates absolutely on fire. Bulls had a big loss last weekend against Ulster, which was really crappy. This weekend they go up against Connacht. That'll be tonight at 9:15. The Lions will be hosting the Scarlets tomorrow, 2:45, if you want to brave Ellis Park. The Sharks basically, I think this is the season they've got to get rid of John Plumtree. And I don't mean to sound like a doers on a Friday, and I've got nothing against John Plumtree. But at some stage, we need to look at this team and go, this team is like, is there so many people? How do we keep losing? Because it's it is on any kind of given week. If the Bok team was the Sharks team, would go, yeah, decent team. And yet they can't win. They get hammered. They got hammered by Leinster last week. Anyway, they'll be at home taking on Ulster this weekend, Saturday, 4 o'clock. Leinster versus Munster, the massive one for the Irish people and the neutrals, 6:15. And then Zebre are going to get handled by the Stormers, who are just on fire, like I said. That'll be Saturday, 9:15. So another really big thing before we get into actual football, because the Premier League is back, which is really great. Well, not if you're James, though, because he supports Liverpool and they're teetering. But the Formula One this weekend will be at the Formula One of America, at the Circuit of Americas. It's a really big race. And I think it's also this very interesting time because we know McLaren's won the Constructors' Championship already. And on the Drivers' Championship, Piastri is 336 points. Norris is 314. And then Max is holding on with all his muster at 273. So the McLarens actually had a bit of a fallout at Singapore. Lando Norris drove into his mate. Then he had a bit of a cry on the radio. Lando didn't do so well. They both finished behind Max. And then afterwards, Piastri wouldn't go out and celebrate the trophy with them. I mean, I've always said it. These oaks, they look like a
bunch of girls in a soap opera.
Well, they do, and I think that's why so many people are now drawn towards supporting Max Verstappen again, because people thought Max Verstappen was a giant doers, and in many senses, maybe he was, but at least he looks like a grown man. These McLaren rent boys are just, great. Like, they got an amazing car, they're really good. But they just look like little nonsense. They really do. And they're having this little fight about each other. Look, it makes for good drama. If you're in neutral right now, F1 is great again. It really is. It's lots of fun. So hopefully Max can get ahead of them again. Because if you can close that gap and somehow, if this championship can go to Abu Dhabi, which is obviously the last race of the season, I think it's going to be great. I think Max, on pure determination and fuckery, he will beat these oaks. But can Red Bull get them there? Unfortunately, it's always Max against the rest because Yuki Tsunoda is playing Mario Kart towards the back each and every week. So, the McLarens, they're 1 and 2. They're very strong, but they hate each other now. So it's just, there's so many cool dynamics. Bye, Leanne.
Oh, is Leanne gone?
Bye, guys.
Leanne.
Disappeared.
Just
Cheers. Bye.
F1.
That's what she does.
Yeah.
It's like she usually does it here in the studio. She just walks out.
But I love the fact that she's just left her laptop there. Do you think she's got a show laptop? Yeah, Gareth. So I mean, look, when it comes to Premier League, we're back this weekend. So we have these international breaks that we mostly don't care about. Nobody really does. They want to shorten them next year by having longer breaks but less breaks. I don't know if that's going to make
Mhm.
much of a difference, but either way, league football, that's what we want. So this Saturday, Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea, 1:30. It's a big one because Nottingham Forest have actually had a cuck start, and then they got the old Spurs coach, Ang Postacino, whatever his name is, and they're not going so great. But they're at home, and they really have to try and get something together with the season. Chelsea, on the other hand, are actually doing pretty well. So great one to start with. Brighton, Newcastle at 4 is going to be a great game. Man City versus Everton's a great game. So remember a while ago we spoke about how Everton has to sell something like 20 million blue donuts to try and buy Jack Grealish.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So, yeah, the English heartthrob with big calves. So, Man City were the ones that loaned Everton Jack Grealish. So now, his season's going pretty well. But if you can have a great game against his old team, then maybe they will activate that £50 million clause, which means they can actually buy him rather than just loan him. I don't know if they've sold the donuts yet, but it's a cool dynamic. Then Fulham will be hosting Arsenal at 6:30. So Arsenal are now top of the log. James isn't here to hear that, I don't think. But yes, Arsenal are top of the log. They're doing well right now. 6:30 on Saturday. And then Sunday, Spurs, Aston Villa at 3. Liverpool, Man United at 5:30. So this is a fun one because we know Man United are dog shit, right? And we know Liverpool are a much better team. Liverpool have to have a big statement performance this weekend because they have dipped behind Arsenal. Will it be like a 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 like we've seen in the past? It's really funny because, I mean, if Liverpool slip up here and say draw with Man United, it is going to kill their confidence. They are going to become memed. They are going to become abused. I will abuse James heavily, but there's also a chance this is the team they want to get a 5 or 6-0 against. So yeah, it's really, really exciting. Look, if you like cricket as well, the test match with the Pakistanis I think it takes place on Tuesday. Proteas lost that first one because, unfortunately, when you play in that part of the world, if you win the toss, you bat first. And when you bat first, you have a significant advantage over your opponents. So we lost that first test despite the spirited efforts of Ryan Rickleton and Devalt Brevis. And if you're into the women's cricket, we are playing Sri Lanka. The Proteas are playing Sri Lanka today. And they're actually going all right. They got absolute thrash in that first game against England, but they bounced back quite nicely. Very hearty win against Bangladesh this week, so they'll be on today. And that's pretty much sport, huh? That is it for the weekend.
I saw something funny, and only you would get it. So I was too slow to catch the picture on my phone, but I was at the gym and I was looking up at the screen, and there was a guy called No Man who was bowling, I think.
He was the chief bowler.
Right. So it says No Man, and then right under that it says South Africa trail by X number of runs. And I thought if you just took that picture, that kind of tells you a story as well.
Yeah, because every time he got you out, you would say, No Man.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Okay, we got a lot of things to still get to this morning. So we've talked a little bit about sport. Of course, you got to get your latest episode of Ben's show. And there are plenty of really good episodes that you might want to go back and check because whenever there's rugby on, he's spoken to everybody. Two of my favorites from the last while have been John Smith, Wynand Olivier. He's had all kinds of guests in there, and you need to go and subscribe and follow The Bounce. On The Bounce is the show, and you can follow it on social media as well. We've also got a new show with Pearl Tusi, which has kicked off. And if you haven't watched that yet, it's worth checking out. So it's not just Pearl, it's also her daughter Tando who's on there, and it's brought to you by The Real Network. All the drama, all of the crazy. Every Thursday at 3 p.m, we release a new episode, and you don't want to miss out on that. What do you got coming up on The Bounce, Ben?
Well, Gareth, I'm glad you asked. We got Quena Mapaka coming through to the studio today. So early next week, we're going to have because, I mean, the SA20 is quite close now. We're getting into it. December 26th it starts. So we're going to get Quena as a guest because ultimately he went from high school to SA20 to international superstar. The guy's still only 19. But,
right.
I mean, what an incredible story. So he's going to be in studio with Shaz and I today. And we've got like a whole bunch of really cool inserts from things that we've shot in and around with ex-players, current players. So yeah, I mean, like I'm super amped about this tournament because of what it has become. In the beginning, there was a novelty factor of like, okay, cool, we've got a proper T20 tournament, but it's really
Mhm.
kicked on. So this season is going to be so massive, and it's really great to be able to do these shows with guys like Quena. So that'll be next week, and then our end of month show with Kate Knockrick coming back. There is so much to unpack, obviously, with Bafana triumphing, the F1 dynamics, where the Proteas are. Two really, really big shows coming up, which I'm excited about.
Awesome. So make sure you don't miss it. And then I found this story, and I thought the person I want to ask about this is you. There's a fertility doctor who was on a podcast this week, Diary of the CEO, which I think many people listen to. It's one of the better ones. And there are so many to choose from. So whatever, whether you haven't seen it or you have, I'll give you the gist. So Diary of a CEO had this guest on this week called Dr. Natalie Crawford, Ben. She was warning that men who smoke marijuana may struggle to conceive children, as cannabis can disrupt key reproductive hormones, damage sperm quality, and increase the risk of pregnancy and loss of the child during pregnancy. Speaking on the podcast, she explained that weed interferes with signals that tell the testicles to produce healthy sperm, leading to lower motility, abnormal shape, fragmented DNA. She advised men who are trying for a baby to cut out cannabis, alcohol, and cigarettes and avoid heat exposure to the testicles. So that all sounds pretty straightforward. I just wonder how many of the people that I meet on a daily basis are probably the result of their parents having smoked too much weed when they were conceived. Because you can see there's a slowness and a lack of like masculine testosterone in these people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, look, we've always said that weed is a terrible thing to get into, and people always try to glamorize it by going, "Oh, but it takes the edge off." But like, okay, great. So you want to be dull? It's
Yeah,
it's a perplexing drug for me. It really is. I mean, alcohol is a social thing, and itself it's got its problems, but there's no real upside to weed other than becoming slow. I just don't get it. And yeah, I mean, like it's been said for a while now. I'm surprised that. Well, I mean, look, it's like news and truth go in cycles, right? And then with the right people amplifying it, it becomes like front of head again. But yeah, weed is just. Again, I don't like the upside's anxiety relief, isn't it? That's like the only thing.
Well, I heard an interesting argument last week about this that I've never really considered before now. But have you noticed that, when you talk to people who drink, whether they're alcoholics or they're just social drinkers or they just have something at dinner every 6 weeks, they will always admit that there are things about alcohol that are bad. They'll say, yeah, well, you shouldn't drive when you're drunk. They'll say, I've embarrassed myself. I've done a lot of stupid things when I've been drunk. You should have less, not more. Definitely, there are health risks involved. You can become, if you drink too much beer, you'll become fat. There are things that people say about alcohol when they are drinkers that are critical of alcohol. In other words, they have the ability to be objective about it. I have never encountered a weed smoker who admits that there are bad things that happen as a result of weed. Most weed smokers will say, no, it's all good. It's natural. It's something that doesn't have any side effects. You can smoke it and you can drive. You can smoke it. They never admit, and I mean, maybe I've just met the world's worst weed smokers, but they'll never admit that there's anything bad that comes with weed. Whereas alcohol drinkers will say, yeah, of course there are bad things that come with it. Have you noticed
I totally
that?
agree. That's always been a consistent thread from the people I've always chatted to. Oh, it helps me sleep. It does this. It does
Yeah.
this. It's like, no, it doesn't.
There are no
It doesn't
bad
help you
things.
sleep. There's no bad things. It's like this miracle thing. And maybe there's people
Mhm.
always wanting to find magic, and that's just a very cheap way of doing that. But no, I totally agree with you. They're always defended. Very loyal people, weed smokers, clearly.
Yeah, and I'm talking about smart people who've become major kind of weed advocates, people who I respect, people like Bill Maher, who he smokes weed pretty much all the time, except when he's not doing his TV show. When he's doing his TV show, he's basically totally sober, and the rest of the time he smokes weed. He's got a new podcast. Well, it's not a new podcast. It's been out for about a year and a half, called Club Random, where he just interviews people, and he smokes weed during that. I don't think it's necessarily a better or worse show than his TV show. It's just a very different kind of show. But even Bill won't admit, for example, that maybe driving under the influence of weed is a bad thing. I think we all know that alcohol can impair your ability to drive. But I think it's time that we just got an admission, even if it's a small admission, from people who
Yeah.
smoke weed, that actually their reaction time slows down. There are a bunch of things that are not controversial that it would be good if they just admitted them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think fundamentally, okay, so where you started there by saying it's going to mess up your testicles, it's going to mess up your reproductive
Yeah.
abilities. I think guys must go back to understanding what guys are. And we've all been distracted in the last 20 years by all kinds of various things, but guys need to actually reproduce. That should be a primary function that you should be optimizing for. None of this like, oh, I don't know if I do. Like, you actually really should. I mean, I know as a 43-year-old guy, I've made fucking stupid mistakes in my life. And if I would love to redo a couple of things. But we need to understand what men must primarily be. We must be strong and we must do these things. Like last week we were talking about Sora and how we've become obsessed with entertaining ourselves. Like, for what fucking reason? Other than just wasting our time and wasting this gift that is life. We need to go back to the fact and realize that we must build, we must spread, we must share, we must engage. None of this like sitting at home and smoking weed and fucking watching reels and that kind of stuff. That's not what men should actually do. And we're all guilty of it. I know we are. I mean, here's me like admitting that, not like the weed people. We're all so guilty of this. And the net result, what has it actually given us? What? It's not given us anything. It's not made us rich or anything. It's just entertained us. Yay.
I saw an article written by a woman, a feminist, last week. I think it was in the New York Times. And obviously I got the online version, but it looked like the whole thing had been generated by AI as well, because you can tell journalists are extremely lazy now and they put everything through AI first, at least the first draft. I'm not saying that every article you will read in any news outlet or on South African news media, I'm not saying all of them are AI generated, but certainly you can tell the first draft is AI, and then they've cobbled together, using what skills they have, some approximation of an article that's worth reading. And this woman had written this article about how men staring at women is coming back, and it's very bad. She basically accuses heterosexual men of reintroducing stuff that she thought was gone. And again, this is something that I wanted to talk to you about this week rather than anybody else, because I know for a fact, just talking to the women who I see on a regular basis, they don't mind being looked at. In fact, it's kind of a compliment. It's part of the reason that they dress up. It's part of the reason that they keep themselves in shape. They wear makeup. They put on shoes. They do all the kinds of things that they do. Women do these things in order to attract attention from men. And I thought, reading this article from this stupid feminist in the New York Times, I was just suddenly blown away by the fact that she is surprised that somehow she thinks she is in the majority, that most people in the world wouldn't want to look at an attractive woman who's going to some trouble to dress up, make herself beautiful, make herself interesting and appealing to primarily men. Also, there's a part of that that's about, impressing other women, and there's intra-female competition, which is worth talking about on its own. But what do you think of that? Because I was blown away by this article. I just thought this chick is so out of touch with what's actually happening in the world.
Did you manage to see what color her hair was?
No, but you can guess, right? Like certain one-liners, the words people use. If people use the word problematic, which she did a couple of times in the article, the patriarchy. I think the term that she used to describe it was the male gaze, Gaze. And
yeah, well, without that, there is no life. I don't want to oversimplify this because creeps have given everyone a bad name. Creeps and pedos, we've said it many, many times. They've read many things about life. But the
Yeah.
only way we have life, the only way that we've got to where we are right now, where I am talking on a microphone that I'm holding and we're looking into a screen, is because guys really wanted to fuck. Why else would we make or build or try and conquer and do anything? It's because that's what guys do. And how does that happen? It starts by finding a woman that you would like to interact with, have intercourse with.
Yep.
It's since the beginning of time. And this horrible harpy who sits in her echo chamber and writes all this bullshit, she doesn't understand life. She doesn't understand history for a start. She probably has no like actual friends outside of her echo chamber. And that's just it. If men and women stopped interacting, life would finish. It would be done. It would be the far side of the moon as we know it. So how does it start? We look at women. We look at attractive women. We look at attractive women longer than we would look at the woman who wrote the article. And it's just, fuck this. It's just stupidity. Like, we got to get back to just understanding how fucking humans work. How bad is it that we actually lose sight of that?
Harmin says, and you said she was clever earlier, she says, literally only women who can't get attention don't like attention. I just think there's a huge difference, and I'm glad you counterbalanced this, Ben, by saying that there are a lot of creeps and weirdos and like freaky men out there who've embarrassed the rest of us and made it, damaged our reputation as a gender, as a sex. And they are obviously in the minority. And I do think that in the past, if you were a woman walking past a construction site 100 years ago, you would have been wolf whistled and you would have had men going, "Oh, darling, come over. Why don't you bring your nice ass over here?" That kind of thing. I don't think people are doing that anymore. And that's maybe where there might be a tiny hint of observation and truth in what this woman's writing. That we no longer kind of treat women like a decoration, like an adornment, as an object. And that's probably a good thing. But the fact that she's actually repelled and disgusted by the fact that men look at a beautiful woman is what bothered me, because there are very few things in the world that are absolutely always worth looking at. And one of them is a really, really beautiful woman. I mean, it's still, we have beauty contests all over the world, for God's sake. Grown adult men, as you put it in the beginning of your description here, will invent anything. They will go anywhere. They will sacrifice pretty much 99% of anything they've built up for a woman who takes their breath away. And that's just purely on their appearance. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. That's where risk and reward come into it, right?
Helen of Troy, the guy sacrificed everything. But yeah, I think, again, it goes back to honesty as well. So this, again, going back to this woman, she probably has a problem with beauty pageants too, because she could never be in one. Yeah. She's not associated with any of that kind of stuff. I think, like, nothing... beauty is a wonderful thing. That's why in the last few years we've always hated like how people are lying about body positivity and how terrible architecture and stupid shock value art. It's not beauty. It doesn't make you feel better. Me as a heterosexual man, nothing makes me happier in this world than to see a beautiful woman. I have many loves. I have many interests. I have many things that take my attention. But a beautiful woman will stop your day in its tracks, and there's no way around it. You cannot beat anything. You can show me sports cars. You can show me amazing sunsets, whatever. Show me a beautiful woman. It'll change my day every day.
Yeah. Well, we've brought up a number of times. Yeah, we've brought up a number of times on the show too that really the more breasts we see, the more tits we see on a daily basis, the happier we are. Almost invariably. Yeah. You can take a man's happiness from 5 or 6 out of 10 to 9 out of 10 just by wearing a low cut top and having a fine pair of breasts. It really is. It's a superpower. And I don't think we must discount the possibility that maybe women like the one who wrote that article need to be reminded what their superpowers are. It's not to be a girl boss or to, I don't need no man, become all independent. That's not a superpower. Men don't we're not impressed by that shit because we have to do that on a daily basis. Is kind of be independent and bring in the bacon. We're not impressed
Yeah,
by that.
it's
Not something that
it's a conversation.
we don't. Wow, that woman is such a powerhouse in the office. I just love the way that she manages those exco meetings. Said no man ever. I heard a very controversial thing this week, which I'm scared to even bring it up, but if I'm ever going to, it's going to be here. I'll get to that in a second. I want to finish that thought from how we're not impressed by girl bosses and independent women and all that stuff. The kind of guy who's impressed by an independent woman is the kind of guy who wants her to be independent so he can be lazy and he can live off of her. And the kind of women who realize that their superpower is other things, and I obviously made it stupid about tits, but it could be so many other things. There are so many things that women do that men cannot do, or that when we do them, we just don't do them as well. Instead, we're all competing in like the male arena, which is just, it's so dumb of girls to want to be in that world. Because if we were impressed by that, we would be congratulating our friends rather than a girl we're attracted to. Am I still on topic here? I'll bring up that other thing in a moment. But do you get where I'm going with this? Because it's something that's occurring to me more and more.
I totally do, and we can take this in different sort of avenues. But we often speak about like honesty, and I think it's one of those things that because of certain narratives and certain backlashes from terrible behaviors, which we have to admit, things getting hypersexualized and misogyny kind of went off the handle maybe in the 80s into 90s. So there was always a backlash to these things. But I think if we're really honest, and it goes back to this whole thing about staring at women, is that when men aren't interested in women, where do women go? Because then they definitely haven't got their own backs, right? They need to be moms. They need to be these other things. So if men aren't interested in you, civilization again is going to die. And this is a horrible truth: is that we've been taught recently that we have to. It's all about the woman. She has to be the one who gets impressed. She's got to be the one who chooses. All these kind of things. Cool, but then decent oaks go, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care. Why must I do all the work here? And it's a horrible reality that is coming back to really hurt people as well, I think. So people, like women, will hear this and go, "Oh, just misogynist. Like we must be your plaything. We must do this." It's like, yeah, but there's got to be a give and take that's got to come back into the mix here. Guys have to be impressed by women, as you said. Guys are not impressed by women who want to compete with them, not because guys feel belittled. It's just that it's not attractive to us. It's not interesting. Every single day we're fighting with our friends. We're fighting with people in business. We don't now want the feminine form to now be a competitor as well. Not because we feel in any way threatened. It's just not interesting to us.
Okay, well, Andre disagrees, and then I'll bring up this controversial thing in a second. Andre says, I think you're oversimplifying it. Nothing wrong with a successful woman that gets shit done. In today's economy, 2 strong salaries in a household bode better than 1. Sure, that's not what we're saying. I'm not saying to the exclusion of this thing. And I don't think that, for example, women shouldn't be able to compete in the job market at whatever level they decide to compete at, the level of the most hardcore male businessman. And this brings me to the topic, which I was kind of reticent to even bring up. But a friend of mine said the other day, if we put a woman in charge of a bunch of men, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's on a sports field, whether it's in a Survivor TV show, is it possible for men to allow a woman to lead them in that situation? Even the most open-minded, left-wing, whatever kind of guy, a guy who believes in the patriarchy and all of that shit, is he able to let women lead him? In war, for example, would you take orders? I mean, you have to take orders, so it's not really a debate, but would you feel comfortable taking orders? Would you be as confident taking orders from a woman as you would a man? And the reason I think this is controversial is because the most obvious place to consider this is that most military units in the world almost all engaging combat units do not have women. Even in the Israeli military, which famously, has women on the battlefront and puts them in forward areas very often, they still don't allow them to engage in combat at the level that men do. In other words, if it's a hugely dangerous operation, the civilized thing to do is to not make women go in, no matter how good their training is or whatever else it might be. Imagine a woman, Ben, being the coach for our rugby team. Would men listen to that woman, no matter how skilled she is, no matter how inspiring she is, no matter how much experience she has in managing a team? Would men accept her leadership? I know this is a seriously dangerous area that I'm wading into here, and probably wading into completely unprepared. It's going to piss a lot of people off. What do you think the answer is?
Yeah, of course it is. Well, the answer is very simple. The answer is yes, because people have become so performative nowadays, and they do things that make them look good, or they do things that they feel they should oblige and like conform to. But the real answer is no, because ultimately, in any high stakes situation, people respond to what they believe is authority, experience, those kind of things, like the traditional father figure thing, right? You don't come home and like ask your and expect your mom to be the one who's now going to solve how the mortgage gets paid this month, or how there's a bit of a catastrophe on the front, or the neighbors fucking just poisoned the dog. No one sits back and goes, well, mom's got this. No, dad's got this. And if we are honest with these things, we'd always respond better to a strong male leader. It's simple as that. It's just for hundreds and hundreds of years it's been happening. And don't get me wrong, there's hugely inspiring and impressive females, but what, the last 100 years maybe? All of our DNA is linked to like past stuff, I believe. It's like we seek these patterns. And if we're honest, we would always want a strong male figure in those things.
There's another part of this too, which people are less likely to volunteer into the conversation, and that is that risk taking is just not a thing that women are as comfortable with as men. You mentioned when serious things happen, it's exactly how it's meant to be. You don't want someone who takes massive risks raising the kids or doing the things that mothers traditionally do. That would be extremely dangerous. You don't want someone who's like, yeah, let's fuck it, let's take the 3-year-old bungee jumping. That is not what you want from a woman. And yet, there are women in jobs who are trying to make the job market, make the workplace safer, where the workplace is meant to be a place of risk. I mean, the whole idea of the market, the whole idea of speculation. I mentioned a podcast I was listening to this week. Speculation, we're talking about gold prices going through the roof today. Silver prices are going through the roof today. Bitcoin is still falling down. These are things that require a lot of stomach. And you can't be risk averse if you're in the market. And by nature, women are less risk taking. We saw this during, the early part of this decade, when safety was the major concern. Like, let's stay safe, stay home. We joked about afterwards, but staying safe is that's not a male thing. Men have to go out there when it's not safe, and they have to kill the fucking demon that's going to make it less safe, and they have to bring home the bacon, and they have to risk everything. And if they get killed, well, then, the mom is worrying about safety and making sure that the kids have someone to rely on. There's different roles, and it's in the DNA, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, I mean, Gareth, there's not much more I can add to that. It really is as simple as that. And then you get the whole thing that's been shoved down our throats again with toxic masculinity, how big dick energy is a toxic slur. But sometimes for many roles in life, there's only one thing you want, and it's that. And it really is. And for a lot of other things, all you want is for feminine energy, female abilities, because they have what we don't have in so many ways. and it should be bloody celebrated as well. It really should be.
Yeah. I think it's worth celebrating. It's one of the reasons that I find it attractive is because I don't have it, right? If you have something already, then seeing that thing in someone else isn't going to be the thing that attracts you. So the stuff
No,
most
it's absolutely so right. You get women who want to be hard-assed about stuff, and okay, cool. You don't be who you want to be in life, but don't be surprised when no one finds you attractive, though. And it's a very, very simple thing to kind of understand.
hey, we could get into some serious trouble by saying, what is the point of being like a lawyer who works until 12 o'clock every night? You're the one who switches off the lights in the building. You walk down to the basement and get into your sports car and you drive home. And then, you have no one to share that with. If that's the dream, if the dream is to be this corporate executive, I don't know whether by the end of the accounting of that, I mean, you mentioned now being in your 40s, and I am too, and I wonder for a woman if it wouldn't be worth looking at the outcome at the very start and going, why am I competing with all these men and these other women who want to be office people when there's a different world available to me? It's different if you're a guy. You can obviously decide to be, out in the jungle making belts out of crocodiles. Or you could be a corporate slave. You've got to decide within a certain narrow band of stuff based on your skills and what you love and what you'll be paid for, because sometimes the three don't line up perfectly. You've got to choose something that will make you valuable in society. But for women, you have a whole other area which isn't going to be determined by your ability to make money. It isn't going to be determined by the market or by economics or by IQ or EQ. It's going to be determined by what kind of a nurturer, a caregiver, a friend, an attractive proposition you are. It's a different universe, which men, we just don't have that open to us. And I'm not complaining about it, by the way. I'm very happy with the fact that I like the idea of competing with other men for my position in society. And
Natural.
I just think it's just a very different thing for women. I mean, like you don't have to do that,
Yeah, I get it. I listened to like an Andrew Schultz podcast a while ago, and so his wife had a job, like high performance job, whatever. But then they wanted a family, so now she's a stay-at-home mom. And he was recounting this conversation that she was having with friends. They've met at like a Whole Foods or some shit, and they were like, "Oh, how are things going?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom now." And the instant response was the sort of head tilt, like, "Oh, that's nice." Like shame, Which, I fucking hate when people say shame about anything. It's so patronizing. And then he said that he saw his wife kind of feel almost like insecure. It's like, well, hang on a second. Why has it been flipped so much? Like, a stay-at-home mom is a great status symbol. I mean, that's a massive flex for a lot of things, right? You get to do something like that. It's really magical. But no, they're almost seen as like, oh, stay-at-home mom, hey, couldn't cut it in the workplace. Like, how fucking stupid is that? And when that becomes a big narrative, people play into those things.
I wonder if the people who've been selling this idea that being a mom and a wife and doing the things that moms and wives do, we've been selling this to girls as a second best option. And we've been selling them the first best option of competing with men in a men's world. We've been saying that's where you're valuable. That is, and again, I don't know who's to blame for this. Maybe it's the whole of society. Maybe it's feminism. Maybe it's men being weak.
Some people say it's capitalism.
Sure, capitalism.
Some people say it's capitalism because people want to have more incomes, mean more expenditures, which means more selling.
Sure. More stuff. which goes back to the idea of, like entertaining ourselves and how that doesn't give you a sense of purpose and meaning. But we've got to we've got to stop selling the corporate world as some kind of a fucking win. Like, let me tell you, I don't really know the corporate world. I've never really been in a big corporation with like over 1,000 people. You have an office and you have office hours, and I'm not the right guy to comment on that. But if that's what you reckon success looks like, if that's what you believe is the pinnacle of human achievement, and especially if you believe that as a woman competing with a whole bunch of guys in a big building in the middle of town, you're going to be having the best life, I got to say you must re-examine your principles from the start, because there are 1,000 things I would rather do as a guy than be in a big fucking building with 1,000 other guys doing the same thing, all trying to out fucking perform each other. I don't know how anyone could do that. That must be such a meaningless existence. I know Mash is on the line, but do you want to have a last say on this?
Sorry, just like a final touch on that. Yeah, Gareth, it's an interesting conversation to have, because the two of us know each other well, and we're both at a life stage where we've done various things. So the outsider looking at two guys just having a fucking stab, it's like, fuck you, my life's great, who are you to say it? But I do think that because we have been quite trial and error people, and we have a variety of people around us, we've seen the ramifications of these things. And it really struck me now when I was actually in New York, when I went to the World Trade Center memorial site, and there's the One World Trade, all those big like buildings around there. I used to think growing up it'd be like so cool to be like in a big corporate, have a job, you can make all this money. And then I looked at myself, I'm not rich, all those kind of things, but I'm outside, they're inside. It was the simplest, just like most interesting revelation I've had in my life so far, is that these people are inside, and they will be inside next week, and they'll be inside all day and the day after that. And I think like, okay, cool. They have mortgages, they have security, all those kind of things. But they are a bit stuck. And in life, you just got to work it out. Do you want to be stuck and have security? Or do you want to actually take risks? In fact, I don't know where next year is going to go for me. I mean, I got a good idea. I'm not going to fall off the planet. But you got to have the risk. I feel it always just comes back. If I could ever agree with Dr. Kanan, I feel like I'm doing well in life. And that's what he said. So I guess some people do well in places of discomfort.
Yes,
all right,
no, 100%.
You
I don't
agree,
want to make
Mash?
out like my life's great, but
I fully agree with that. As someone who works in corporate, it is soul draining. My soul is drained. I have dead eyes now, and it is depressing. There's nothing. And after this, I'm literally going to work, and I'm sorry, there's nothing fabulous about it. I know that there are some people who are made for this. There are people out there who were made to live this corporate dream and work and climb their ladder and all that. I ain't trying to climb no damn ladder. I'm just trying to eat next week. But also, one thing I've realized is eating is all I'll ever do working in corporate. My life will never be anything more than that. It'll just be eating. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, it's not it. It's not where it's at. I'm sorry. Oh,
Well,
my colleagues might see this, but they already know.
Listen, there's nothing like being honest, and you are one of the most honest people when you come on this show. You out family members who are behaving badly, and you tell us about the fat phobia that you're accused of. I see a comment here from Carl DeSantos. I love Carl's comments. They're always valuable. He says, since about the age of 15, my number one goal is to make enough money so that my wife doesn't have to work. Somewhere near achieving this, it's a huge flex. I think that's so spot on.
That must be the coolest flex, thinking of things right now. Completely.
Yeah. No, that's a cool flex. And that's something I'd like as well. I was actually talking to someone the other day, and I was saying that, my dream. So I've always wanted a child, but I've always told myself that, essentially, I would love to have a child like on my own, like, have my own child. And yeah, people never got it, because also, with my relationship at the moment, I'm with someone who has a child. But I always said I want my own child, where, it's my responsibility. But then a friend of mine was like, do you know how expensive children are? Do you know how expensive it is having one? School fees alone is like $6,000 a month. The baby formulas, the school trips, there's all these kind of things. And of course, because we are also emotionally invested, because this is your child, you want the best for them. So doing all that alone doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So it's a tough one.
No, I suppose there's a whole other discussion that we can have there. Rebellious Ruth says, I love how 3 guys and one who is gay talking about how women feel in their traditional roles. Hey, would you prefer us not to talk about women, to make the focus all about men all the time? I mean, that's listen, Ruth, I know you're the chairman of the comment section. But, you're pushing it.
Ruth, why don't you be productive and tell us where we went wrong rather than tell us what we're talking about? Because everyone can fucking see what we're talking about.
Well,
I mean, let's take the next step. What was wrong? What do you disagree with?
So she does say a little bit earlier in the chat, and maybe I should have read this comment first. This is a good point. Ruth says, I have seen too many women cry that they have careers, but no one to share it with. And they've put down men so badly that they can't have relationships.
That's on them. That's on those women. Simply because it's what I always say about how dating apps have ruined people and the way people view people. It's similar to this career-driven women thing, where women start seeing men as options. And as a result, because you've seen people as options, one little thing, one little mistake, that like one little criteria that you do not agree with on a person, you're already discarding them. You want people to be these perfect things that match every single criteria. You want him to be tall, dark, handsome, big junk. You want everything, but you can't have everything. You have to compromise somewhere. And rich, big junk rich. That's all they care about nowadays. And you can't have both. You cannot have both. If you're rich, you don't have big junk, you have low self-esteem, and you need 3 blue Lamborghinis to feel better about yourself.
I don't know, Nash. There is a lot of research that's been coming out over the last 20 years that apparently, I don't know about junk size, but if you're a man and you have very low sex drive, in other words, you're not a sexual kind of person, you don't get turned on easily, you aren't excited about the idea of sex, there is no chance that you will be successful. Apparently, there's a direct correlation between the motivation to get up every day, and I know I'm going to get no complaints from either of you about this because you both said as much in previous shows. But if you don't have a sex drive as a man, you just have no ambition whatsoever. And any guy in business who has done well, there's usually a very high sex drive that goes with that. So for men, the two are linked absolutely 100%.
It goes back to marijuana being such a bad thing, though, because that's going to lower sex drive and ability in that front, right?
Right.
Does it?
Well,
Does
I mean,
it really, Ben?
That's what we're talking about. That's what we were talking about earlier, how from a podcast Gareth watched, cannabis, marijuana use lowers the ability for reproduction and sex drive.
It effectively lowers testosterone as well. I mean, do you have personal experience of this that you'd want to share with us? Because I know you're not scared to share personal experiences.
I'm gonna be so blunt. I only have sex on it.
Oh,
wow.
Okay,
Really?
well, I mean, you're not looking to the kind of sex you're having. You're not looking to reproduce, but do you find it makes it better? I mean, do you find it makes it
so much
more
better?
pleasurable? Really?
So much more pleasurable. You get turned on easier. When I am on marijuana, I am just ready to go all the time. Anything turns me on.
Huh. Okay.
But is that like a Pavlov's dog kind of response that you just associate marijuana with sex, or is it a chemical thing that it just helps you with?
It's a chemical thing, and it's not just me. Even like with my ex as well, like it's always been a thing for us. It's like, okay, like, we just shoot a few puffs here and there, and then before you know it, it's just all over the place. So it's always helped
Pound
me
town, eh?
out, and it's
Fascinating.
always just been Pound Town. So I don't quite get where this what angle it's coming from, or the research that was done pertaining to this study that it lowers sex drive. But for
I'll
me,
tell
it has
you,
had the complete opposite effect.
So if anybody missed that, it's a doctor called Natalie Crawford. Primarily, she's talking about fertility, but she also says cannabis can disrupt all kinds of key reproductive hormones. It can damage sperm quality and can increase the risk of pregnancy loss. Also leads to signals that tell the testicles to produce healthy sperm, lower motility of those sperm cells, abnormal shape, fragmented DNA, and then obviously overall testosterone decline. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there's this thing that keeps coming up on Instagram about how your grandfather, like 70 years ago, had higher testosterone than a 20-year-old does today. In fact, sorry, your grandfather now, if he's still alive, has higher testosterone than a 20-year-old today because of things like sitting in front of screens, not doing enough exercise, eating badly.
The food we eat, definitely.
A general lack of motivation. Mental health is also a big problem here. But testosterone production, you can actually measure. So you can see what the percentage of testosterone in the system of a guy who's in his 70s or 80s now and what he was in his 20s. And you compare it to now, and it's just devastating, right?
Yeah. I find that very believable, mainly because, first of all, our diet is shit. We're eating ultra-processed foods. Nobody's eating whole foods anymore. And another thing, because we're eating so much ultra-processed foods, most of us are overeating. Day to day, we're just overeating. And that also lowers your testosterone because you're increasing visceral fat in your stomach. So you're just lowering testosterone overall. And it's become so normalized. I think majority of men around us have low testosterone, and it's just normalized. So now we think that having low testosterone is normal. There's nothing normal about it. We should be horn dogs all day. We should be ready to go all the time as men. That's what I believe. And yeah, it's just the diet that we're eating and also being sedentary. Those are the two major contributing factors. I'm actually on Testo Boost, by the way. I actually started Testo Boost 2 weeks ago, testosterone boosters. Yeah.
So what is?
I started 2 weeks ago.
Is that a prescription thing? Do you take pills? Is it injectable? Like, tell us a little bit about this.
It's pills. So it's pills. It's those capsules that you can like. What do you call them? Not gel capsules. The one that you can like pull apart. It's those kind of pills, and I have to take 3 pills before bed, an hour before bed, on an empty stomach. They are huge tablets, very hard to swallow, but I get it done. And what I've noticed is, number one, my I'd say my motivation is up, and also not necessarily motivation, but that vavavoom, that thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. That thing that, yes, the fact that I can get out of bed without my alarm even having to go off over the past week it shows that testosterone does help. It does help having higher testosterone, but primarily I got the tablets for gym.
Do you know what's in those tablets? Because it could just be horse cum.
The box is right there, but the main ingredient is something called tribulus. I have no clue what that is. I tried Googling it. It's called tribulus, but let me ask ChatGPT right now about tribulus.
All right.
What is
Ben,
tribulus?
Anything you want to add on the testosterone supplements? Because there are some other things I want to get to in a moment. There's some questions in the comment section too about all of this.
No, I feel like we've covered this quite a lot in the last couple of years since COVID, when we became a lot more fixated about that. But yeah, I mean, what Nash was saying about excess visceral fat is one of the key things that makes you lower in testosterone. So when you overeat, I mean, there's various things you can tweak and get into and spend lots of money on. But the simple thing is, don't overeat. The moment you got extra fat in your body, you are literally you're anchoring yourself to a shitter life.
You feel demotivated. You have a painful back. everything about, there's nothing positive. You don't feel good about yourself with fat.
Yeah, Mash. So in the last month, I have not said no to a beer. I've hardly slept much at all. I've lived. I've had a very interesting month, and I've never felt slower right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm getting back to my basics, and within 2 days, I already feel sharper, literally sharper.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Goon in the comments says that's because vegetarians are around, and the fact that we don't hunt anymore for food or women, we just use money. Yeah, I mean, money. Again, to just briefly return to the discussion of work, is like money has become the most important factor, and it is important. You should be able to provide, and you should be able to create a level of lifestyle and comfort that is acceptable. Of course, for a lot of guys, this is also true for some girls, but it's for a lot of guys, it's absolutely true. More is always better. So if you have, I don't know, 10,000 Rand a month, then you want 20. When you got 20, you want 50. When you got 50, you want 100. When you got 100, you want 500. And so it goes on. It's never enough. I mean, you can see guys who've made more money than they can spend in their lifetimes. Larry Ellison of Oracle, for example, he doesn't stop working. It's always more is better. So he wants to keep going. And I suppose that's also a thing that we need to discuss at some point. All right. Ruth brings up this, which is also a very, very important point. I want to know what you guys think of this too. So there's quite a lot of talk around the ceasefire and the peace in the Middle East and this deal that Trump has brought along. And I wondered if you had anything to say about that, because he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize. He probably deserved it more than anybody else this year. A woman in Venezuela who's been standing up to the Hugo Chavez regime, she was the one who won it. And she's probably a terrific person, and she's probably doing really, really difficult work there. We know Venezuela is an absolute clusterfuck of a country at the moment, because it is run by communists who don't know what they're doing. But she dedicated the award to Donald Trump, which I thought was incredible. And he's got such a sense of humor about all of this. He gets on the phone with her and he says, "Oh, congratulations on your Nobel Peace Prize. It's terrific. Well done. If they'd offered it to me, I probably would have took it, but they gave it to you, which is great." He's just very funny. He said on the same plane on the way back from Israel and the Middle East, he said, there are some European, someone asked him, one of the press people said, "Who do you get along with in the world leaders?" He said, "I get on with Meloni of Italy. She's a very beautiful woman. You can't say a beautiful woman in America. I'll get into trouble, but I know I can say it about you." And she's like, yeah. She looked like she was probably quite impressed with it. She liked being thought of as attractive. Anyway, he said on the plane to this journalist, "I get along with the ones who are good, the ones who do things, the ones who are strong, the ones who are powerful. I don't get along with the losers. You know who the losers are." Who do you think he's talking about?
Well, we all know who the losers are. It's that endless cycle of the people on the left. No matter what he does, he is the problem. And I think in 2025, again, people got to realize, like, if Donald Trump's the problem to all, is the reason for all your problems, you are a problem. You're just a massive problem. He's not perfect. He's arrogant, all of these things, but it doesn't actually matter because he's not your dad. He is the president of the United States, who got voted in because he told the people of the United States that he was going to double down on making that country the most important thing in the world. Doesn't give a fuck about other countries. He wants America to be great. That's all he's ever said. He made a fucking hat. There's nothing cryptic about it. Deal with it and move on with your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I have friends around me, very close friends of mine, who are supporters of Julius Malema. I have friends who are supporters of Cyril Ramaphosa, and we are still friends. Despite our political views or our political leanings, we are still friends. I watched something on TikTok a couple of months ago. Ben reminds me of it now, of when Trump was elected as president. People lost their minds. People had actual panic attacks. People actually cut off their mothers their fathers. They said, I cannot have a mother who supports Donald Trump. I cannot have a father who supports Donald Trump. People went out of their way. And after seeing that, it made me realize that people on the left aren't so proper in the head. I think that was my wake-up call, seeing all of that. So you can't really take them. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a supporter of Donald Trump. But I'm just saying that people on the left are not all the way there.
Like, I think whether you're left or right in the world, you're surely for peace. Okay, like peace is a good thing.
Yeah.
And surely, even if the devil himself brings peace, we're happy for the result, even if we hate the devil. And so,
yes,
in inverted commas, you've got to give the devil his due. It seems to me that the people who were calling for a ceasefire in Palestine for the last 4 years, it's only been 2, but it feels much longer. Those are the same people who suddenly are not excited enough to even post that they got what they wanted, which was a ceasefire, mostly because they don't like the way that they got it. They don't like that they got it from Donald Trump. I do want to go back to my question. So I think that the losers he's talking about are Emmanuel Macron, Keir Starmer, Mark Carney, Cyril Ramaphosa. He wasn't even invited, by the way. So South Africa, for all the things we've been doing, how we've been plugging ourselves into this Middle East thing. Naledi Pandor was all over it when she was minister. Mandla Mandela was on the flotilla. Cyril was talking to Iran and talking to Russia and talking to China and trying to position us as like a country that could help solve the problem there. We didn't even get an invite when it came to see. No one cares about Cyril or us. No one was asking for us.
At best.
Yeah, correct. So I think those are the losers that he's talking about. But at least those losers were in the room. Our loser wasn't even invited.
Yeah, Mash. I mean, I'm just curious. Like, you have friends who say they support Julius Malema and Cyril Ramaphosa. What do they support? I don't want to sound disparaging. I don't want to sound shitty. I just would love to know someone with a straight face who can breathe in and out by their own volition. What do they support?
They support those people as individuals. I've never tried to go in depth as to what about this person's movement or their political leanings do you support? Because I know that we will fight and we might not be friends anymore. So I'd rather just, you support Julius, okay, Shapu, enjoy that. You in your red little EFF cute little shirt, enjoy that.
Yeah, but it's the fundamental. It's the fundamental thing. Like, I support Arsenal because they play in the Premier League, right?
Yeah.
So their combined efforts are to try and win the Premier League. If they do that, then they are champions. And what they do is they try to get the best people from around the world to be in this team to try and win that Premier League. So what I've just given you in 30 seconds is my reasons for supporting them. They have value, they have substance, they have purpose, and we know where we're going. Again, if you support something, it's like if you support women's rights, or if you support climate, whatever, or if you support free tampons in the workplace, there's a reason and an outcome and factors at play. I just don't get it.
But Ben, I mean, for the same reason, like someone who I understand Mash's position here. I mean, I've got friends, I wouldn't say they're close friends of mine, but I've got friends who also hate Donald Trump. They're otherwise perfectly reasonable, sensible people, and I like spending time with them. But I know I just don't bring up Trump around them. Like Mash might.
You don't want to dwell on that. Yeah.
No. I mean, I do have to ask, like, I can understand to a degree. Like, there's a lot of people who like Julius because of bitterness and resentment, and they feel like they've been left out of the economy and all of that stuff. But Cyril, like at the moment with this controversy with his nephew, I mean, who's openly behind Cyril right now? I think you'd struggle to find 100 people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. People on Twitter are upset at the moment because when he posted about Bafana getting into the FIFA, they went absolutely crazy because they were like, we have actual issues. that he's not addressing in this country. But here he is. Here he is. Every PR opportunity, he's there. But he's not actually addressing the actual issues in this country. So, unfortunately with Cyril is digging his own grave. But these other guys, your Julius and all of them, my friends who support them, I am not even gonna open that can of worms. I know some of my friends are even the R word. You know, there are people like that like you can tell that, okay, this person is not trying to mix up like that. So I just leave them, and I'm like, you know what? I'm friends with them because of 1, 2, 3. And I don't want to dive into that because we won't be friends anymore. We might even fight. So let me just leave them to have their own little funny opinions.
And it's great. Everyone can have them. Like I like to learn from people because I am one way.
Yeah.
And as I get older, I'll probably become more of this one way. I'm always fascinated by other things in life, what other people might think, and what am I missing. And it's a perplexing thing. It really is. It's just the world is a wonderful place if you embrace reality, because then it makes sense. Like the fantasy stuff is just bizarre.
By the way, I got such great feedback from last week when Ryan was here about Ireland. People who haven't ever thought about Ireland before were sending me emails and commenting on X and on Instagram about how much they loved it.
Just on that, I've got a bone to pick with the team. Ryan was great. Ryan was fucking funny. It was a really cool hour. I don't know how long he was on for. It was so great. Yeah. The cut down from the show was so shit. Come on. I mean, Ryan produced fucking so many wonderful pieces of like the Hardy-Dar shit on the chips was enough to make a fucking great cut down. Chicken Hut.
Flex and James, we're directing this at you. Ben is not the only one who said that from last week's show. So both of you, there's a lot to prove this coming week. So I got lots of good feedback on that. But I wanted to ask you both one other thing quickly: are you on group chats? And on a group chat, do you ever feel like you need to correct other people? Because the me of 5 years ago, 10 years ago, would have been in there if someone said something wrong or stupid or slightly off color, that I would be maybe the one who would say, hey, let's just calm this down or whatever. Now I couldn't give a shit. First of all, I hardly say anything on these group chats. If I do, it's got to be funny. Otherwise, I don't see any point in doing it. To me, the whole point of having this conversation with a whole lot of people on your phone is that it's got to be amusing as hell. It's got to be so funny that you are literally laughing your tits off the whole time. Otherwise, why be on there? But this idea of correcting other people is just so unappealing to me now. I find it horribly unattractive in myself and in other people. So I just let people do their thing most of the time. Do you ever correct other people on social media or on WhatsApp groups?
If they're wrong about me, I will defend myself, but I also don't care. People will get shit wrong. People live by fucking wrong. Good for them.
I'm at a point where I'm not affected at all by what people get wrong or right, whether it's about me or not about me. I've had enough garbage said about me online. I'm at a point where I don't care about anything. I don't even care about my job. I'm just it's been a lot.
But fucking Pound Town.
What do you care about? Did you say the junk either?
The junk and the pocket. Yeah, the junk and the money. Right. That's what women care about. Right. But in terms of group chats, I don't even respond anymore. In most group chats, I say nothing. Mostly because also I can't relate to most people I'm in group chats with now. They want to drink. They want to have a good time, go to events. Most of my group chats are just people sending ticket links. Hey, let's go to this event. Here's a ticket link. I've been going to these events, but I don't drink anymore. And as a result, people are very awkward around me. Nobody actually wants, it feels like, let me not say nobody wants to be around me. It feels like nobody wants to be around me because people keep their distance from me. They're dancing over there and all that kind of stuff. So Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm at a point where I really don't care. I really don't care in group chats what people are saying. I don't even respond in the group chats anymore. I actually suggested to my one friend group, I said, let's do High Rocks end of November.
Yeah.
Nobody responded. Nobody responded. I said this last week. So
Yeah.
so I think I'm at that transitionary period at the moment.
I do see James has just sent us a message about how
Oh.
well that clip performed. He says that numbers don't lie, 295 views or likes or whatever. So he thinks it was very good. And
That's
and
James.
in your
He's so
comments,
corporate.
yeah, and he definitely hates Ryan. I mean, that's clear.
Yeah,
That's why
Ryan's
he
so
cut Ryan out.
likable, and Ryan's done so much for James, mentored him to where we are right now.
Exactly.
Keeps him in
So ungrateful.
so polite, and then
Yeah.
James just so cutthroat, huh?
Yeah. Really, James owes a lot to Ryan, and there's no gratefulness. There's absolutely no class about it. James is always disparaging. I mean, he even says now, people don't know that I taught Ryan everything he knows. Actually, this is James talking about himself.
Yeah, and then what happened? He drove him out of the country. James,
That's
you
right.
actually have real piece of work here.
Yeah,
a real
James
piece of
is
work,
such a
James.
hater. What a hater.
I'm gonna watch my back. I'm coming to the studio in a bit. I'm gonna watch my back because James might be looking to ask me.
He drove him out of the country. You're right, Ben.
Drove him out, guys. He drove him out like vermin.
Mash, have you ever had like a bad run-in with James while we're on this subject? Is there anything you'd like to warn the audience about when it comes to James?
Thank God I haven't, hey? Hence I'm still here in this country. So I haven't at all. Thank goodness. Oh, would have ended bad for me.
Wow.
Yo.
Max Sony says, Max Sony in the comments giving you a massive props here. Mash, are those implants in your arms? Your biceps look incredible. That's from Mac.
Oh, thank you. No, these are not implants, hey? This is the testo boost, the pills that I've been taking. You know, I'm trying my best to just keep myself pumped up. Yeah. But I do have beef, though, with fitness influencers. Fitness influencers, you know what? They can go to hell. Every single one of them can go straight to hell. And the reason why I say that is because what I've realized about fitness influencers, especially because I'm not a fitness influencer, I do not classify myself as one, but from what I've seen online, I've come to realize as someone who's now fit that these guys were the reason why I kept failing at becoming fit. They are the reason why it was so difficult for me. Mainly because they have turned living a healthy lifestyle into something that's performative, into something that's unrealistic and unattainable for most people. So waking up at 3 a.m., Gareth, you have to have a NutriBullet. You have to have some green smoothie. You have to have some purple smoothie in order to be healthy. And for most people, those things are unrealistic. Have you seen the price of kale? Who is just buying kale on a random Tuesday?
The body doesn't need kale anyway.
Exactly. But they push this onto people and they turn living a healthy lifestyle into this unrealistic thing. Hence, most people say living a healthy lifestyle is expensive. There's nothing expensive about going from eating 6,000 calories a day to eating 2,000. There's nothing expensive about that, but they've turned it into it's this performance, it's this performative thing. You have to buy the certain outfits, wear the certain shorts, have the certain equipment, buy that treadmill that everybody's buying from Temu that sits in your lounge. You need all that garbage. You don't.
You know, Mash, it's also part of what they have to do in order to justify you coming back every time. If it was simple, if they just said, eat this, go to gym, do these 5 different exercises, and then swap to these 5 the next day, and these 5 the next day, and these 5, they'd be out of content. They'd be out of use. They wouldn't be any use to you after a week.
Absolutely. 100%. And the workouts that they show you as well are workouts that aren't even doing much most of the time. Like, what the hell is a 300 kg person? What business do they have doing bicep curls? What business does a 300 kg person have doing this? What are they going to achieve from doing this? What? So it's just, so now that I understand health, nutrition, working out, I actively went and educated myself on all these things. Now, when I see this content, I realize that, what garbage is this? I can't believe I was falling for this garbage. I bought the NutriBullet.
Hey, listen.
I bought the NutriBullet.
Let's give some credit. I mean, it did get you into a totally different space. Now you've learned enough that you can actually look back and say these people were talking a lot of shit. But you were motivated by those same people, were you not?
Not by them. I was motivated by myself and by the heartbreak from my ex.
Mash, you are the actual success story, because this is the only way you can ever get into shape. It's not these dipshits selling snake oil and fucking magic. It's learning it yourself. People always say, like, oh, how do I do this? It's like, spend 4 years learning it. It's like anything else. You don't suddenly go, oh, how can I be an accountant? No, you've got to learn this shit. You've got to actually put yourself through the motion. It's the most important thing you can do for yourself. It's the biggest skill you can get for yourself. Put yourself through that process. Stop asking people how you do this. Stop watching dipshits online. You are literally, you are the blueprint. You treated yourself to the journey.
It makes such a difference. It really does.
I'm sitting here in the sun because it was the most best place for life. I'm roasting in this fucking jersey right now. I'm gonna just exit camera and take this jersey off.
No problem.
If I take my shirt off during a fitness discussion, it's going to look like we're looking for likes. I know that's James's game. It's not necessarily ours.
So James is getting a lot of heat in the comments section here. Chris Smith says that is why James never shows his face on the show. That's what Chris says.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, James is a tyrant. He does. He runs the comments section a bit like a tyrant. Sometimes he climbs in there and starts abusing people, which none of my producers have ever done before. Even terrible people who had no social skills at all knew not to do that, but James does. And I do have to say, if you're going to complain about the promo, you've got to also bring Flex in on this. It's not just James. You've got to bring Flex in too. So both of them. Yeah, if you don't like it, then direct both. Let's not just pick on one. They both deserve it.
100%.
Marco. Sorry, Mash. I want to ask you about this. Marco says in the comments, "Have you seen the price of whey protein? Is it more expensive than ever?"
Oh, it's more expensive than ever. In fact, I'm so glad I've learned that you don't need whey protein. You're getting the protein from the food you're eating. These protein supplements are more of it's a supplement, as the word suggests. So you're getting all the protein you need from your food. In order to hit my daily protein goal, which is about 90 grams, it's actually quite easy. Just have half a chicken for breakfast, half a chicken for dinner, and you're good. So it's actually quite easy. So
you don't need those horse cum tablets either, Nash.
You don't need all those. Yeah. Those I'll stop using. It's just, Gareth, I've been doing research and all that kind of stuff. I've been using AI. Oh, James is here. Oh, James. Oh, I'm so sorry, James, for everything I said.
Yeah, what do you want, James?
I'm just here, guys. I'm here to replace Ben. Just to replace Ben, that's all.
Are you coming into James? Ben says you cut him off. So you actually are a tyrant. You just cut him off so that you could be James. On the show and not him.
I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't like his commentary about our clip from last week. So now I'm just being that guy.
It seems you're getting support, like intra office support here. I see Marvin just commented. Marv says, and Marv is technically your boss, James. And Marv says, I mean, the promo has 300,000 views. I'd say that's a pretty engaging promo. So he's coming to your defense there.
Damn right. Yeah. Damn right. And I stand on business. I'm here for it.
So, but I mean,
James is tended credit.
are you going to give credit to Flex? He's the one who did the promo.
I couldn't do a lot of what I do without Flex. So, yes.
There we go. Is it true that you drove Ryan out of the country?
Yes, probably.
Is it true that your plan is to drive Ben out of the country?
Not yet. I don't dislike him that much.
Have you ever...
Fucking right, James. I'm right here.
Ben actually thought he'd been cut off permanently there for a second.
He happened to cut me off permanently.
Have you ever had a reason, James, just so that he's got some warning, have you ever had a reason to dislike MASH, where he needs to be worried about his future on the show?
Not at all. I think MASH is one of the greatest humans I've ever met. So,
okay, good. MASH, you see, you're in the clear now. That's nice. That's very
thank
nice.
Goodness. Oh, my life is still safe. Oh, goodness.
I see some people want to see Flex, not just you. So turn the camera a little bit there so that they can see that there's another person. We just not just making it up. There's Flex. There he is.
Hi, Flex.
All right. Don't hit on him too much. He gets very uncomfortable. All right. Let's see here. James is great. He's just like MASH. He doesn't care anymore. That's what Wendy says. Do you think that's fair, James?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
anymore.
Life's too short.
Yeah,
to care
anymore.
too much.
Yeah. You know, can I tell you something, Gareth? The less you care, the better you do. I don't know how it happens, but the less of a shit you give, the better things turn out. Look at the views now last week.
No. I think you have.
Don't get James to care less. Trust me. Don't let him care less.
James, have you managed to get to all your emails yet? Because this is a major bone of contention on the team. There isn't anyone. Marvin, your boss, is also he gets frustrated. Your communication skills are up to shit. I heard you were calling guests yesterday to try and get them on the show this morning. Have you sorted that out? Are you back in charge of your emails?
Do you know what? My communication skills have improved so much that I've even jumped into the contact at Cliff Central Mail to answer those queries. So yes, I'm up to date.
All right. Well, you know what?
Good week,
I can't. If that's true, I can't criticize you on that. Very good.
Well, let's just hang it on a second there. James, 12th of September. It's a conversation we've had here. Let me bring it up. 12th of September. James, we need a book. Kalyan van Jasveld, she's got a book. It's out. Your response, I'll lock it down. Damn, eye emojis.
But you see, we were talking about emails here. The WhatsApps is a different story.
James, you use the words "I'll lock it down." Like I can't be more. I mean, if you want to stand here.
What date was that?
And say I'm standing on business. I can tell you right now, we'll hold you to your phrases.
How do you know?
How long ago was that?
Gareth, it was the 12th of September. What is the date today?
Jesus Christ! It's the 17th of October. It's a whole month and 3 days after that.
No, have you locked this? Have you locked this down with chewing gum? Have you locked it down with candy floss, James? I mean, I'm holding you to the higher level that I know you are.
Adhesive glue is what I've used.
All right. Well, we'll be expecting her on next. We'll be expecting her on next Friday's show, then, won't we?
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Well, I mean, Garrett's told me he'll lock it down.
All right. Let's see if you can deliver. Proof is in the pudding. Mash, I'm sorry you have to be witness to this, what essentially should be an off-air meeting between us and the producer. I mean, actions speak louder than words. We will judge you now on your actions, James, not on you saying that you've got complete control of your communications there. I don't believe it. All right. I see here Bitcoin Bit says, Gareth, James asked me what I would like to talk about while I was on the show. I gave him pointers and pictures. We didn't even touch on it. Well, that's how the show works. So James doesn't wash his car. Could he even care less? Actually, his car has been quite clean recently, and it's not because of the rain. So I don't want to bring that old horse chestnut up again. I want James's job, says Lindy and Dooley. Sheltered employment. Yeah, it sometimes does feel like that, hey? I sometimes have to explain to people why we keep him. It's the truth. What can I tell you? All right, you guys, is there anything you want to throw in before we wrap it up? We're almost at the end of the show. Mash, I didn't even get to your stuff that you wanted to talk about this morning. Is there anything that you that's burning a hole in you need to get out there?
Yes. So I haven't talked about my family in a while. I was in Klerksdorp last weekend. And this actually relates back to what Leanne was saying earlier. I was listening a bit earlier, and Leanne was talking about AI and creating memories that never happened. And something similar along those lines happened this past weekend. So I was home, and it was my cousin's birthday. So my cousin shares a birthday with my mom. And cool, was both their birthdays on the Friday when I got to Klerksdorp. And when my cousin posted, so her mother passed away when we were little. My cousin's like 4 years older than me. She was very little when her mother passed away. We were all very little. And it was actually 2 years ago, very long time ago. But she posted a picture because her mother shared a birthday with her as well. So my mother, my cousin's mother shared a birthday. And my cousin posted a picture of herself now. She's in her 30s now. And she posted a picture of her with her mother, like holding her mother as if like her mother, just before she passed away, as if like they were like together, just hanging out, you know, and she posted that. And my mom was like, how cool is this? It looks like they're like literally together. How crazy is that? And I was like, no, I wasn't too impressed. My mother was impressed. She was like, wow, this is incredible. How did she do this? I told my mom, I was like, Mom, number one, it's AI. Number two, this is not, I don't think this is something fabulous or something cool because this is not an actual memory. This never happened. Yeah. So how are you? And it feels weird looking at this because this never happened. So my mom was like, no, make one of your brother. Because my brother passed away. She's like, make one of your brother and me. I was like, no, Mom, I am not going to do that. I am not going to do that because these people are no longer here. But these are not, you look at this picture, there's no sense of nostalgia. There's no memories attached to it. It's just a picture. So I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. Maybe the audience can tell me that I'm tripping.
For whatever it's worth, I don't really have any advice on this one, but I will say that I'm not a big fan of bringing back the dead. Listen, I'm a fan of history. So when people make a really great video and they try to show what might have happened in a battle in ancient Egypt or whatever, that's fascinating. But when they bring these people to life and have them talk, I'm like, that's just a lot of bullshit. That just feels terrible. And if
Sylvia would never have allowed that.
Sylvia would never have allowed that. They only spoke through Sylvia. And by the way, have you guys seen the explosion of Sylvia content since we started talking about it? It's suddenly everywhere. Like I cannot go to my Instagram on any given day without 5 Sylvia fucking clips coming my way.
Yeah. Sure, she's blown up, hey? I love it. I absolutely love it. Sylvia is AI before AI, basically.
Yeah.
She's
she's
AI
talking
before
to the
AI.
dead as well. Yeah. There was someone sent me during the course of this week a Saturday Night Live clip where one of the actresses was doing a Sylvia impersonation. It was very good. It's she would always get it wrong as well. So she would say, he drowned, and then they'd go, well, no, actually he's still alive. He lives down the road. And she'd be, yeah, but his soul has drowned. He's basically in a world where, you know, he feels like he's underwater. You're not paying attention to him. She'd always have an answer.
She has an answer for everything.
High Octane Hendrix says, Mash, you were asking for advice. I'm getting so sick of AI videos. So he's not a fan. Ben, why do you keep changing your shirts? Says Barely Vocal Media. It's amazing what gets Barely Vocal Media's attention on the show.
No, but Ben has been changing. It's his third change in like the last 10 minutes. What are you doing, Ben?
Yeah, guys, I feel like I'm in a good temperature now.
He's like those girls who go to a party with 3 dresses in the car. Tracy says, anything SNL does now doesn't come close to Give Me More Cowbell. Well, isn't it true that late night TV had its heyday and it's over now? I don't know anybody who's
over.
waiting for, no one's waiting for Jimmy Kimmel or Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Fallon or any of the other Jimmys to come up with a hot take on the news of the day, because that era has passed. I just don't think it's a thing anymore.
It has.
No one gives a shit.
It's not anymore.
All of their ratings
Yeah.
are terrible. No one is impressed by the fact that they've taken what used to be comedy and turned it into political commentary. I mean, their monologues are more like political commentary than they are jokes. There used to be a time when Jay Leno and David Letterman were on, where the whole thing was jokes, right? It wasn't commentary.
Like I realize this when Donald Trump will get up to the most minuscule of shit, but because Joe Biden was getting up to the most amount of shit, or trying not to look like a zombie, whatever the hell he was doing, but they would always comment on Donald Trump. Even on a week where there was nothing happening in the Republican camp, but the Democrats were having a lot going off, they'll just comment about Donald Trump. That for me that's when I stopped actually watching late night TV, because it's too political.
All right, gentlemen and ladies, we will be back on Friday next week. We'll be back in studio, so more of what you expect there. And don't forget, there's plenty of good stuff on the Real Network for you to find and to partake in. And don't forget to drop your comment, to like, subscribe, and to tell us if you like some things more than others, so we can get it absolutely right. We would love to hear from you. And I insist that James responds to every single email. So send them and let's test him. If you don't get a response, let me know. All right, everybody. Have an awesome weekend. We will see you next week. Ciao.
Ciao.
I know a way you won't even have to do radiation.
Yeah.
Try a holistic route.
What did she say? Holistic? Who's a hoe? Don't call, I got off the camera, but don't call me no fucking hoe.
I'm not hollering.
Because I'm not hoe, and I'm not on the list for a hoe. So don't fuck with me. You got the wrong guy.